On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will fumble their way through the galaxy's more interesting tidbits, which includes some rumors about Mando, an article on the Bad Batch, and a defiant no from a potential Thrawn actor. They'll also talk about the cancellation of Mando books and the latest Star Wars proper comic. They've got an interesting bit of social media from a rumored live-action Ezra actor, and of course, the fan segment, which will feature the return of the battle brackets, in addition to fan responses on favorite clones, and of course, the top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week, complete with a fan shot breakdown special. Punch it, Chewie.
Hey now, everybody! Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Star Wars Time Show. Blah, 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 blah. Yep, no guests this week, so no reason to get excited. And we're going extra early, so I'm not even expecting anyone to be in the live stream, but that's okay. We understand how our fans roll. All right?
Yeah.
The
we do have a couple extra guests, though. If you can see my camera, you can see that I'm taking a vacation. I'm on the Tantive 4, and I have C-3PO and R2-D2 at my side. It's nice. It's a nice ship, you know. I didn't think it would be as comfortable as it was seeing Episode 4 and obviously seeing what ultimately happened to the Tantive 4. But it's pretty nice. I'm enjoying my time.
Yeah, it's looking good. I definitely feel like less of a Star Wars fan now that Nick has the old green screen going, or the faux green screen, if you will. And I know people on the audio only are like, what the fuck, we can't see. Well, hey, you tune in to YouTube when you can. After the date, you don't have to be here live. Trust me. You're not missing anything. Usually live, you just get all the tech issues, which at this point, Nick, since no one's here, we don't even know if they can fucking hear us, but it doesn't matter because we can hear each other, and that's all that matters. Like Nick said, he is escorting the droids. He's on Antilles' ship, getting ready to take those stolen plans to the Rebel Alliance on Yavin 4. That's right. But I don't get to play. No green screen here. And just the way we have the setup going, I can't use the fake stuff built into Skype. But kudos to Nick for dressing up his set and going full on Star Wars. And yes, for those keeping score, we are wearing the exact same shirts today. And no, it was not coordinated beforehand. That's just how the Force works every once in a while here on the Star Wars Time Show.
Yeah, I mean, thank you again to Action Figure Snaps,
That's
Adrian
right. That's
Belgar
right.
for these shirts. You know,
it is.
That's what keeps us in attire,
dude. I even put it on today, thinking like, there's no way Nick and I are ever gonna wear the same shirts because Adrian sent like a fucking box. I mean, I'm talking. It was almost like 20 shirts. It was awesome.
It was it was a lot.
And we've never coordinated until today, almost a year later after getting the shirts. And I even today picking up the shirt is like, this is the one, right? This is the one today. Nick's not going to wear this. And sure as shit, here he goes. He's got his Star Wars set. And we essentially, it looks like we're wearing new Star Wars Time Show uniforms today. Like, welcome to the Star Wars Time Show. I'm Matt. How can I help you?
Yeah. This is the new uniform. Now, from now on, I mean, it feels like Matt and I have to coordinate. We have to call each other up. So, what shirt you wearing, man? You wearing the Baby Yoda? All right, I'll put that on.
Yours actually looks like yours fits. I mean, I made Adrian give me small as possible, and these are nice shirts, so they shrink. So, dude, I mean, I'm talking like, look at mine. Mine's like sausage casing right now. It's like I'm ready to explode out here. I'm on a spring break, so I've gone off the diet a bit. Maybe I'll talk about that more because it fucks me up in the head. But the only way I feel like I can be on a break, Nick, is if I don't eat my diet. I don't know if that makes sense to you. But
no, that definitely makes
I've
sense.
just created a world that where if I'm not allowed to be a gluttonous pig and maybe throw in some booze here or there, I'm not allowed to have a vacation. Essentially, that's the OCD that I've created in my head, just to ensure that I don't end up looking like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
Which is a problem. Like I know these days I don't look quite as bulbous as I used to be, but we're talking at 5'6". I've hit 230 twice in my life. So picture that. It's not a pretty picture. It is very Hutt-like.
Yeah, you get some flaps coming out places that you didn't know flaps could come out,
and I get that like subcutaneous fat where it like just builds around your organs, so it's not like huge rolls like Jabba, but my gut will just start distending. I look like Orn Free Taa, the senator, the Twi'lek senator, where it's like a true beer belly, but it also looks like I'm carrying triplets or something like that.
Yeah,
I just remember tying your shoes really used to suck at that weight. Just trying to bend over, and you can feel your floating ribs like jamming up into your lungs because they have to go somewhere when your big ass gut is creased over your waist. So to make a long story short, the only way I can maintain a somewhat healthy appearance, both physically and mentally, because I am a big weirdo with all this shit. I'm in my 40s and I still care about what I look like, and it's not so much what other people. It's I want to look a certain way in my own fucking head, and it ruins everything. It ruins. But
it's also very healthy that that you are staying in shape, exercising, and doing all that stuff.
It is a little bit, but it leads into weekend where I might eat a little more than one human needs to eat. And again, back to now, I'm off spring break. It's great. I have a job. I'm not bitching about being off, but I really don't feel like I'm off unless I know after the show I can go up and eat a pizza if I want to.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah. You got to take advantage of those times, though, right?
But
you can't.
But
just
Nick, in 9 weeks, I'm gonna be going to the beach. It's like, just calm down, bro. You're gonna get a week off again. You don't need to go crazy. You don't need to have a beer tonight. You don't need to eat that third, fourth, fifth slice of pizza, fatso.
Oh man. Yeah, the way that we cook in this house, like we don't really have to worry about, like we don't really stay on diets.
Yeah, but
I mean, we should. Like yesterday we made Cuban sandwiches and French fries. The day before that we made cheesy beef enchiladas.
Oh my goodness. But here's the deal, though. Because you do kind of eat that way, you never find yourself on a weekend like, ooh, it's the weekend. I can eat some food, so I'm going to eat a burrito, and then I'm going to order out and get a $50 dinner for a family of 3. And I don't necessarily gorge anymore to, where I'd eat until I literally would feel sick, but it made me feel good. Like eating until you could feel food backing up your esophagus. I don't do that anymore, but I kind of save all week. Like, I'm punishing myself because I know come Friday I can have that Cuban sandwich Nick was talking about, and then it gets into maybe larger portions than I need because I don't give it to myself all week long like you do.
Yeah. Typically our weekends, like we'll order out either once on a weekend or twice. And then we cook all 5 days of the week anyway. So, but we just we probably eat a little bit more than we should. But then again, like neither one of us is like heavily overweight. Taylor works out 4 times a week. I go to the gym at least 3 times a week.
Do you guys drink whenever? I'm not like saying get sloppy. Like we have a beer once a day, or is drinking not something you really give a shit about?
I don't really drink that much during the week. Like if I do, it'll be like maybe one whiskey drink, like maybe one old fashioned.
Oh, Jesus.
I typically like save my drinking for the weekend.
Okay. All right.
So yeah.
So you understand that angle, because that's another one. Like I'm not a drunk. Like I don't need it to get through life. But God damn it, having a few beers is the same thing as being able to eat off diet for me. So again, it's like if I'm keeping all this from myself during a break, it doesn't feel like a break. So Hey there, we got Mr. Hey Now himself, Klondike's in the chat, and 1-6. They're liking the early pop. I bet
we're early guys.
I bet 1-6 popped a chubby when he heard that you like to make old fashions, because I know he is a brown liquor drinker himself.
Oh yeah, I got some Texas whiskey from this distillery called Treaty Oak. It's really good. I also have Metallica for those of you who
Stern promotes it because they what's the actual brand called?
It's called Blacken.
Yeah, Blacken whiskey.
It's actually really good. So the story of how I found it is pretty quick. There's a whiskey festival that happens in Austin every so often. We went in 2019 pre-COVID and everything like that with two of our friends, and everything was free. So you go into this whiskey plate, like this big kind of convention center. You have all of these whiskey vendors there, dangerous. And they're just giving shit out the whole time.
So by lunch, are you like, hey, let's go get the block of whiskey, dude?
We were so like, it was crazy because we got our tickets free, and the tickets cost $250 a person.
Holy shit.
So we got in for free, and it's like literally it was all the whiskey you could drink. They had food trucks there that you had to pay for. But then at the end of it, there was a free concert. And I don't know if you know who X Ambassadors is or if anybody who listens does. They did that song Renegades. They played a free concert at the end. By the time we leave, it's probably 2:00 in the morning. We are just sloshed, wasted.
God.
Luckily, we had a place, like we were close to downtown, and we had a place that we could go to downtown to where we just walked over there, and it was
You're probably like me at Star Wars Celebration 2019, right? After we went out that one Friday night, and you guys kept pumping me with IPA, you fuckers.
That was your wife.
I remember by the end of it, we had to take like 9 train rides because people kept forgetting shit. I remember walking into a random deli in downtown Chicago going, I need something.
Yep, you got food
and then
there.
Getting up, vomiting multiple times, and getting in a taxi cab to go over and watch The Mandalorian.
Yeah, that was the Mandalorian
it's
panel.
Big,
before the Mandalorian panel.
It's big time panel before we all knew that The Mandalorian would be the second coming of Star Wars Jesus. So yeah, that was good times.
Yeah, it was.
I don't get you whiskey people. I really don't. And I'm not like, oh, you guys are crazy. The shit tastes like rocket fuel. Like literally, I'd almost rather drink gasoline because gasoline, it has one of those smells that I like smelling markers. I'm one of those people.
No, yeah. Like when I was a kid, it definitely got to me too. Like it was one of those things where I was like, oh, interesting. I like this.
Yeah. Oh, mom, smell it. It smells like cherry. Oh, now my head feels all buzzy.
Yeah, it's like I'm spinning. Why is everything spinning?
Right.
But I mean, with whiskey, to me, like the introduction was like through whiskey cocktails. Like whiskey sour is one that I think everybody can drink because it's got enough sweet and sour in it to where like the bite of the whiskey is so small that you don't even realize it. And then like you kind of work your way down to like, okay, well, whiskey sour, good intro because it doesn't really taste like it. Then you can go to like Manhattan. Then you can go to old fashioned. And then once you're, at that point, then really all you're doing is just adding a little bit of sugar water to it. And then if you can take the sugar water away, you're right on it.
Are you at the point now where you're just putting it in a little glass and dumping it over some ice and just drinking it straight?
I can. It depends on the whiskey because not all of them are like that. Like you need a pretty good whiskey, at least for me, to be able to like just drink it straight over ice. Which is why, like, I have the blackened one because I think that one's actually really good. I mean, people might think it's like a meme because it's like, oh, fucking Metallica has their own whiskey, but it's really good. And then,
well, I mean, who knows? I guess you'd have to go to the distillery, but apparently they play Metallica music to shake the barrels as it's distilling.
Yeah, that's what the guy. So like when we were there, the guy told us the story of it. He's like, yeah, so we like blast Metallica music at the thing, at the cask. And then they said they had it tested by a chemist. And they were like, are there any differences between these two batches? One of them had the music played at it and one of them didn't. and there was a chemical difference between the ones that had the music played at it and the ones
Lars,
that didn't.
yeah.
So, dude, I was like, all right, cool. I listened to it. I was like, this is going to be shit. And then it was the best whiskey we drank there. And they had all the whiskey makers you could think. They had Jack Daniels, they had Dewar's, they had fucking, a bunch of like smaller distillers. They had everybody you could think of there, and that was the best one that I had. I don't know if it was because at that point I had enough whiskey in me to kind of be a little loopy.
Yeah, they're giving him basically kerosene by the end of the night. Nick's like, "Oh man, this is the best." Enter the Sandman. Yeah.
Dude, it was pretty fun. But yeah, if you guys like whiskey, I would recommend the 1.6 to actually to pick it up. It's called Blackened. I don't know how easy it is to find in your specific area. I know that I found a bottle from one of my local shops, and when I asked the guy for it, he actually looked at me. He was like, "Oh wow, you're only like the second person who's ever asked for that whiskey." He had to go to the back, and he's like, "This is the last bottle we have."
Yeah, that's cool to hear because, like I said, I mean, it's been, I think, since the pandemic, but they've been a sponsor on the Stern Show, the Black and Whiskey, and he'll always, he does live cuts for him, live promos, and they'll play the music in the background. It's like, yeah. So hey, it actually is good. So sometimes, a lot of us consumers, when a celebrity that we appreciate may slap their name on something, we're just kind of like, yeah, fuck it, that's a money grab. But Nick is saying Black and Whiskey is legit, and it is helped, at least in the distilling process, by the music of Metallica.
Yep.
All right. What is up, H. Green? We're just sitting here kind of bullshitting, doing the show a little early this week because I am on break. Yay. So I didn't want to be doing it all night. Want to get back and kind of help out with the family stuff. But yeah, I guess we should talk Star Wars.
Start talking about Star Wars at least a little bit.
But before we get to the topics, I've been going through my chronological Clone Wars. Okay. And Nick gets little messages throughout the weekend as I go through these because it's typically weekend material with the kid. But I got to comment on how out of order this show truly is. I mean, I'm doing the chronological. I highly recommend at this point everyone do it at least once in their Star Wars lifetime. It is well worth it, as I have kind of discovered this past weekend. So for the most part, Nick, we're in season 3, but in the chronological rewatch, you can bounce all over the place, especially the early seasons. Yeah, remember the movie is not the actual first thing that happens. It's like the 5th or 6th. I believe an episode in season 3 is technically the first chronologically placed episode of Clone Wars. But anyways, one story thread that is fairly prominent in the Clone Wars, it was introduced in the film itself, but going through my chrono rewatch, I was like, holy shit, they literally directly pay off on this character's story arc 2 seasons after another payoff on what happened to the character at the end of the movie. So in particular, I'm talking about Zero the Hutt, right? The purple guy. He's the one that kind of linked up with the Separatists in the movies to fuck with Jabba's son, to make it look like the Jedi were doing it, this, that, and the other thing. He ends up getting arrested by the end and locked up on Coruscant. Okay, great. Well, come episode 307, right? Mind you,
so season 3, episode 7.
Yes. So 2 to 3 years after the movie came out, Zero's story kind of gets picked up on again in episode 307. It's called Assassin. It's the episode where Ahsoka is, she's growing into her own. She's not quite wearing her appropriate costume yet. She's still in the tube top for a 14-year-old, but that does get, they eventually put a shirt on her halfway through season 3. But anyways, the point is, they're like, hey, Ahsoka, you've been doing some good shit in the Clone Wars. We're starting to trust you a lot more. Why don't you go ahead and take a mission by yourself? So she's tasked with protecting Padme on a mission to Alderaan to talk to their local government or some dumb shit. And as all things go, Padme, someone's trying to fucking kill her, right? I mean, someone's been trying to kill Padme since the Phantom Menace. The galaxy does not like this poor young woman, okay? We find out it's Aurra Sing, and by the end, she tells Ahsoka and the Jedi that Zero the Hutt is the one that commissioned the assassination. Not the Nemoidians, not Silas Carson again. This time it was Zero the Hutt wanted Padme dead for whatever. Like I said, she's just Padme. She's a bad woman, and a lot of bad guys do not like her in the galaxy because of her righteousness. So that's 307. Then it goes back to 302 and just, kind of tells a story about ARC troopers on Camino. Then it goes to 304 and you get the Baron Papnoidia, or essentially George Lucas's blue character from Revenge of the Sith, gets a whole episode. But this is where it's starting to tie things back around to Zero, because Cad's in this episode, and then in 308, Cad takes C-3PO and R2 to trying to find information from them on the Senate. Like, Cad is, you can see over these episodes, he's trying to figure out the inner workings of Coruscant, in particular the Senate chambers. Mm-hmm. So that's episode 308. So from 308 in the chrono rewatch, it takes you back to 122. Okay, I'm like, all right, I'm just following along. Mind you, they've mentioned Zero again. He is still locked up. So what 122 is, Nick? Again, season 1, episode 22, basically the finale of the first season.
Yep.
It's called Hostage Crisis, and this is the episode where Cad Bane, Aura, and some of the bounty hunters essentially use all the intel that Cad has been gathering in season 3 to go and essentially hold the Senate hostage. I mean, they get Bail, they get Padme, they get a lot of the big time senators all locked up, and it's all a guise to spring Zero the Hutt from his Coruscant prison.
Yeah.
Which they do in 122. He gets away, episode ends, and you're like, okay. But guess what? 122 has a direct, I'm talking just like the Rise of Malevolence 3-episode series where it's bang, bang, boom. Okay? Clone Wars has a lot of these little 2 and 3 parters. The Mortis arc, the Night Sisters arc, where we learn about Savage. All in order. For some reason, Zero's final episode did not air until season 3, episode 9, aka Hunt for Zero.
It's just, it doesn't make any sense.
It's crazy,
to me.
dude. Because I'm not kidding. 309 is a direct continuation of episode 122.
Yeah. Because Matt and I were talking before the cast, and I told him, I was like, I saw the Clone Wars movie in theaters. This is when they still had early previews for movies, and my friend's dad could often get into those. So we saw it as an early preview, and I was like, dope. All right, cool. And Zero was one of the main villains in that movie. And then when I was watching Clone Wars, season 1 comes around, like Matt mentioned, you get 122 where you get Zero. I was like, okay, cool. They're still tying in these characters. And then by the time season 3 comes around and you get these other episodes and this finish, like the finish to this arc, I had completely forgotten about the storyline with Zero in it. I was like, it makes no sense.
Because 309, I mean, it's literally, it is the end of Zero. He gets, and I forgot about this, but Jabba enlists Cy Snoodles, the singer, like the female singer with the long snout. Jabba is the one that enlists her, because I guess her and Zero were dating before all this happened. These are the joys of going back and watching the Clone Wars, by the way.
Some Hutt relations, really, in these
episodes. But what happens here, you remember what Zero did to his relative Jabba? He fucking kidnapped his kid. So what happens all these seasons later in the hunt for Zero is Cy assassinates Zero to get this Hutt data disk for Jabba the Hutt. So Zero's story starts in the movie, goes away until season 3, if we're talking in chronological order. Some rumblings start to happen around Zero and the bounty hunters. Then we go back to the end of season 1 to see his breakout. Then we fast forward to season 3 to see the culmination of Zero the Hutt's thread. I don't know. I mean, I know everyone's probably sitting there going like, wow, this guy has way too much fucking free time on his hands. And you may be correct, but these are like weekend nights. We're just hanging out with the kids, watching some Star Wars. I write down these observations because it's like, it's just, why? What were they doing? did they just not care about direct follow-ups? Was it, just having love letters later down the seasons just to check in on events past? It just seems odd that you would have an episode that started in season 1 and did not get finished until season 3.
See, it almost makes me think, and I don't know the dynamics of what was going on between Cartoon Network and Lucasfilm and everything like that at the time, but there are a lot of TV shows where shit like that happens. Because if you ever were a Firefly fan, then you know the story behind one of the reasons why it got canceled at Fox. I mean, you essentially had all of the episodes already made, and then Fox just decides to release them out of order. Like they were literally given the slate by Joss Whedon and by the people who created it, and they're like, hey, this is the order. And then Fox literally has a meeting with the creators, and they're like, we don't think that this first episode's a good first episode. So we're going to play the third episode first, and then we're just going to kind of mix shit in there. Yeah, we're just going to... So, like, I don't know if they had, like, if they potentially had this, like, the Zero arc already created in its entirety from season 1, and then some meetings happened, and they decided, well, it actually makes more sense to tell these stories in season 1, and then we'll come back to that because
I think you're right. And we've all heard stories, and I wish I could quote the title of the article. I know who wrote it. His name's Andrew Reiner. He's one of my favorite video game journalists, Game Informer. But I believe it was him, and Nick, this has to be almost 10 years ago at this point, but he did kind of someone did in the gaming industry, did a deep dive into LucasArts and why a lot of games would fail there, why a lot of games never saw kind of the light of day. And the general theme was when the maker would come into a meeting, he could effectively set back months of development with a point of a finger and a change of a name.
Yeah, with a single word.
It was like changing names.
All of the work that these people have done, and then just say like, hey guys, guess what? All the time you put in, it's not happening now.
Right. Like I think
I'm George fucking.
Right, let's change his name to Farfurk Nukin instead of Sky Killer. I mean, just there were great stories about the power of George and how he could essentially blow up progress due to his wild imagination and ultimate vision.
Yeah. I kind of feel like that's potentially what happened.
Yeah, like
here.
He's like, hey, you know what? Fuck, I don't want to follow up on Zero, even though he just got stolen. Let's just move on to the next episode, and down the road, if we feel like it, maybe we'll tell some more Zero stories. I think when George had control, or his ultimate vision for Clone Wars was just, we're gonna kind of spot tell stories.
Yeah, I think what may be an interesting way to look at it, and I'm going to throw this out here. I'm going to throw this out here as either a leak or some really good fan speculation. Eventually, we're going to find out that the Clone Wars is actually recollections of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, like, everything that's happening in Clone Wars is just him remembering shit,
right,
which is why
it could be out of order.
Yeah, because he's just like, he's just remembering, or it could be from somebody else, like one of the other main players in the Clone Wars, potentially from, I mean, we all know that George's story and the way that George sees the original trilogy is that it was seen and told through the eyes of the droids from C-3PO and R2-D2's perspective. So, like, it wouldn't surprise me if something like that were to come out about the Clone Wars, and that's why they're out of order, is because it's not telling a sequence of events, it's recollections of somebody.
We'll take it. Star Wars fans love their own fan fiction, so we can use that here and just say Nick's right.
Yeah,
the Clone Wars are through the lens of Kenobi himself.
Yeah, I may throw that on Star Wars speculation, and because at least that is one Reddit that we can post on is Star Wars speculation, and people don't fucking shit on us or anything like that. And that's why you could also, or you could say like, maybe it's Anakin Skywalker, maybe it's actually Vader, like, remembering the Clone Wars, and that's why he is so different in the Clone Wars than he is in the movies, because he remembers himself as a much different Jedi than the movies portrayed him as.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I wasted some brain cells on a Star Wars cartoon. I just thought it was interesting. You always wonder what decisions led to this chaotic delivery of the Clone Wars. I mean, it is still good if you watch it season 1 through season 7. But I am finding, doing it chronologically, some of those just episodes that might have felt randomly placed now feel like they are telling an overarching story. It's done wonders for a lot of I feel the bounty hunters, in particular Cad Bane, they get spotlighted way better in the chronological rewatch. Padme and a lot of the drama she was dealing with at the Senate level and in politics gets captured better in the chronological rewatch. I forgot at one point in time, she and the Separatists essentially had a deal to cease fire. But through nefarious actors, they ensured that didn't happen. The only other thing I kind of forgot, and I had written down, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it because we already went a bit on Clone Wars, but I had written down in my notes just from watching this that Asajj Ventress, her path sort of mirrors Anakin Skywalker's. I forgot that she actually was taken essentially as a child. Some pirate dude took her, and then from that guy, a Jedi saved her, and then she watched her Jedi master die. And I kind of look at that as like Qui-Gon dying. And once she lost that Jedi parent influence, she went off the rails. I mean, that's how she got mixed up in the dark side, and eventually fell in leagues with Dooku, and then out of league. So we've also gotten into some of the Night Sister and Mortis stuff in season 3, which season 3 again is loaded with some good lore shit for the Jedi through the Mortis arc, but also through the Force in general with a lot of stuff the Night Sisters were doing. I mean, Savage and making deals with Dooku that, hey, I know you lost Ventress and you got Jedi hunting you down. You need a bodyguard. How about you take someone from the clan of Maul and Savage? And then that didn't work out. So I don't know. It's been a lot of good shit. I mean, I know we've all seen Clone Wars, or most of us. But if it's been a while, even a year or two, I recommend trying a chronological rewatch. I don't know if you got little Star Wars fans in the house that haven't seen it yet. That could be a good excuse to break it out. But I do feel watching this chronologically is kind of adding more to the franchise, in my opinion. Stuff flows better, therefore the lore comes out more clear. And so we have time to waste on the show. Yeah.
So are you going through a list of the chronological and then just going to that episode?
I mean, Disney Plus does a lot of good things. The MCU, they have broken out phase 1 through 4 playlists, which is nice. They have a chronological rewatch for the MCU, but they did not. I noticed. They did not take the effort to do that for Clone Wars. So you're exactly right. I guess if I was casting from a device, I'd probably just go right from the official StarWars.com page for the chronological rewatch, because it would have the Disney Plus links right to the episode, and that'd probably make it the easiest. But I don't cast most of my. I like hardware streaming. I like Apple TVs. I don't like using the TV apps. It's weird shit. It comes down to video and sound type of stuff. But no, Nick, it's literally, I will take screenshots of a certain section of that list because it's so long, and we'll just work through it. So I'll have to go to my phone and be like, all right, from 308, we got to go back to 122. And I guess in Disney Plus, it's nice because it'll leave those that we've seen as watched, right? Like the little blue watch bar is all the way full. So that kind of helps us stay on track if I ever get lost. But no, it does require a little bit of manual effort. But if you are a caster where you cast apps to a TV, I would think just using the
list itself, right, and then click, because they have the links on
exactly,
the list.
And it goes right to Disney Plus, and I would assume just pulls up that episode.
Kingdom of Weird says, I wonder if we'll see Ventress in the Ahsoka show. It'd probably have to be through flashbacks if we did, because she dies.
Dies in Ventress, canon, or dies? Did she die in Clone Wars? I can't remember.
She doesn't die in Clone Wars, but there is a new novel where she dies, and then this novel was released in the canon.
Okay,
timeline.
so it's
so I don't
Disney
know if but again, like this comes down to like how are we going to be respecting the stories that are told in the novels from now on or not? Because I believe in Dark Disciple, the novel, she ends up dying.
I mean, she has potential for Bad Batch, right? I mean, they could bring her in the Bad Batch. I do really appreciate that character. I think Asajj is way more than just another dark side dummy, right? I mean, Clone Wars gives her a second and third life ultimately. Like she tries to get back in with the Night Sisters, and then because of some of the shenanigans they do, that's when Grievous just annihilates the fucking planet, right? Yeah. And then I believe she gets into bounty hunting and ultimately ends up helping Ahsoka with her troubles in season 5. So
because I mean, even at the end of season 5, you see that she helps Ahsoka essentially escape the Jedi Council.
Just get proof that she wasn't the one that lit the bomb and it was actually Barriss. But I don't know. I hope Asajj comes back in something. I mean, she's definitely dead. So she died 19 BBY, which is exactly the same time as everything went down. Well, right at the end of so almost Empire Day-ish, right? Like a year later, maybe, or a year earlier.
It was before Dooku died. Okay. Because Dooku, it was pre-episode 3, because that's the timeline in which that Dark Disciple book takes place. Yeah, I'm with Kingdom of Weird.
She's killed by Dooku. Fuck words and shit deaths. They don't count. We can always overwrite words and shit with pictures and shit. So come on, George and team or whoever's in charge of this now. You weren't afraid to do out of order storytelling back then. Let's bring her back.
Yeah,
I mean, I want her in live action, right? Everyone's live action these days. We got a few stories on some live action.
She would look like a badass live action too.
I mean, I know she couldn't do it, but Natalie Portman with her shaved head, put some nice dark eye makeup on there, make her look like she did in V for Vendetta. Yeah, there's a little Asajj action right there. Jennifer Garner back in the day.
Yeah,
I've got Garner on the mind because the wife and I.
Did you watch that Peppermint movie?
I did, and I love Jennifer Garner, and the reason is because Heather and I we started a new series. We try to watch series together, and she never watched Alias, which I think is one of the greatest TV shows of all time. It just showed you that J.J. Abrams and a lot of people in his orbit were going to be much bigger than what they were back in the turn of the century.
Yeah,
but. Jennifer Garner is she's like a national treasure. She's a badass. Really she's fucking hot. In Alias, I mean, they put her in a different crazy costume every episode, and really, she's gone on to be a pretty decent celebrity. I mean, she's not a piece of shit. She took care of her kids. She didn't kick her drunk ass Ben Affleck out until it was too late for his drunk ass. Yeah, I don't know. I really like Jennifer Garner. I think she's one of the better, if not one of the best, female action stars of all time, and she looks fantastic. So yeah, she could be in Star Wars. Let's get her in there. We'll shave her head, give her some dual bladed or two dueling lightsabers, and we're off to the races.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, we got. I understand books are great. It's just. For time and for low IQ individuals like myself, it's easier, more efficient to get it delivered with moving pictures. There you go. Yeah. There's my Clone Wars talk. On the gaming front, Games Pass, better than ever. Bethesda deal has gone through with Microsoft, so a lot of their catalog's up there now. Doom Eternal is all I'm going to say. I mean, that is like the hellspawn of FPS, fast twitch, old school, Unreal Tournament, Unreal Championship type of feels. Love it. All right. Star Wars time show. Here we go. All right, team. So we got a new comic book last week, Star Wars number 12, and this is a run that I've been lamenting over for the past few months. The Star Wars proper run, as I've called it, in 2021 just has not been overly exciting. But that changed in number 12. I wouldn't say it was necessarily an exciting, nail-biting type of issue, but my God, did it hit on the feels. And I'm talking about the Princess Leia and Han Solo feels. In particular, around the time of their burgeoning love story, the Empire Strikes Back and beyond. And what we got in this one, Nick, is that I learned, and you all are about to learn, that if it wasn't for Han and Chewie, the Rebels would have lost Echo Base before the Empire ever even found out that they were on Hoth. All right? So that's big doings for the canon. It's because of Han and Chewie that Echo Base was able to be kept a secret and was able to be used as a rebel base while they were trying to rebuild their forces after the Battle of Yavin and kind of getting their asses kicked around the galaxy because they finally played their hand. It was a good hand to play. They blew up the fucking Death Star, but they essentially put a huge mark on themselves. Yeah. So he saves the day by essentially I'll simplify it, but their fucking furnace was busted in Echo Base. It was freezing. Everyone had to get on their ships. I mean, Han was ranching tauntauns on the Falcon. That's how cold it was. It was getting so cold that they were basically going to have to leave if they could not fix it. They just could not sustain life anymore. So the reason this story comes about is because Princess Leia is kind of feeling sad. She just lost Shara Bay. She's kind of getting fucked by this Commander Zara. And she's sitting in a room where she's just kind of reflecting on life. And Poe's dad walks in. He's like, oh, hey, well, you blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, let's exchange some stories about our love. Because he's like, you know what, Princess or General? Han Solo, I just don't get it. Like, what does someone like you see in this man? And this is where the feels come in, and this is where I really appreciate this issue, because we kind of get a little flashback action, and she's like, remember on Echo Base how cold it was, and how much we always heard Han bitching about how cold it was, and they showed some scenes of Han like, oh, it's so cold, Han being Han. Yeah, and she basically, by the end of the story and how she tells of how he saves the day, him and Chewie, they offer, hey, there's a part in the Falcon we can use to fix the furnace. You all stay on the ships. If shit gets bad, you can get out of here. Chewie and I will sacrifice ourselves in a Han way. I mean, obviously he's a little braggadocious. There's some jabs here and there, like, I'll do it. I'm the hero. I know, me. It's cold, but I'll go sacrifice myself for the rest of you, even though I don't like the Rebel Alliance. But as she's telling it, like, she has a flashback to the I love you, I know, but now she says I know, which was a great little panel. And the way she talks about Han, she's like, listen, Poe's dad's like, damn, I didn't know he did that. Someone like Han was that selfless and saved the Rebels' day. And she's like, yeah. And you know why he didn't know that? Because Han Solo would never want anyone to know that essentially he has a heart and that he's a good guy. Because Han Solo, he's a smuggler. He's a scoundrel. He wants to play up that role that he doesn't care and that he's Tommy Tough guy. But
yeah, I mean, after his run-in with Kira, that was it. That was like his last heartfelt.
Yeah, so he built up a lot of defenses, but in general, he didn't want anyone to know, Rebel or Imperial, to know that he deep down he was a good guy. So he was always bitching with the Rebels and bitching about helping them and bitching about the cold and bitching about Leia's directives. Right? We know that, Han, and that's how the Rebels saw him. And that's what Leia was explaining. She's like, listen, with all the shit he talks, with all the bragging and the cockiness, I love this man because of who he is in his soul and because of what he does and all the times he has saved this Rebel Alliance without ever sitting there going, I'm the hero, I'm going to save the day. He just keeps it low key. He keeps, the rough around the edges because he's a scoundrel. But ultimately, this is why I fell in love with Han Solo. And I thought it was I'm not doing it justice. You got to read the panels because I'm not kidding you. Just flipping through them and reading these, I started to get a little like, oh, geez, Leia? Oh, Leia, yeah. You really hit me where it counts, girlfriend.
Especially from her.
Yes,
like, you never really expected something like that from Leia.
Right. It was just because even Leia had a very hard and sterile exterior in front of the Rebel Alliance. And this issue is kind of like taking a break from the main action, repositioning why all these characters do what they do, and it's ultimately for the people that they love. And I just thought it was a great way to kind of highlight how Leia truly felt about Han Solo, because you don't really get that in the movies. You know, Han's got a hard on for her, but you just think he's like any other guy. You know, he wants to feel it. He wants to pop a chub, all that nice stuff. But Leia truly loved the man by the time of Empire Strikes Back and after. We know Han truly loved her as well. It was just nice to get kind of these flashbacks to see why a gruff character like Han Solo could be loved by someone as refined and polished as Princess Leia Organa. So Nick, the Star Wars comic run has got itself back on track. Based on the tease for next month's issue, I think it's going to maintain its righteousness. Nice. But obviously, all you got to do is follow Star Wars Time Show on YouTube, because that's where we drop the videos first and foremost. We talk about them after the fact on the Star Wars Time Show, but you can always get my comic book breakdowns right on YouTube. Just search for Star Wars Time Show and check them out. At least
it seems like they got back to the mains, because in the arc that was kind of a little weak.
Right.
It was a lot of focus on Lando. It was a lot of focus on Lobot, and kind of not a lot of focus on, Han, Leia,
I'm all right
Luke,
with Lando and them. It was going to Shara Bay and Del Dameron, and it's like, yeah, they're cool and everything. It's nice to, we got a little hollow shot of Poe. That's the other thing. I guess, that just shows you how sexy and unaging Oscar Isaacs is, but Poe has got to be in his mid to late 40s by the time TFA comes around. Yeah,
if he was born in ESB timeline.
Totally, dude. He's a little baby. Like Del shows Leia a hollow of baby Poe, so he's probably almost 1 year old after Empire Strikes Back.
He's definitely in his 40s then, for sure.
But that's just the benefit of casting Oscar, who also I believe is in his 40s, but looks like a strapping young man. So it was a good issue. It was a good issue. Definitely rebounded. But you're right. They're getting back to the mains, and more importantly, not so much the stories about the mains, but getting into their psyches, their feelings, what makes them tick. That's really what I liked about this, was just kind of seeing Princess Leia prop up Han Solo in only the way Princess Leia could do. Yeah. Because you
never really see that in
exactly
movies. Like, she never defends him.
Right.
Like, she never runs to his aid, or anything like that. And in fact, most of the time she's either chiding or making fun of him.
It truly isn't till the end of Jedi where he thinks his shot is completely over because Luke's dead and now Leia's going to be upset. It isn't until she says, "Dummy, He's my brother. I love you," basically. That's the only time we get that in the movies. Yeah. Like Nick said, any other time they're either making fun of each other, or you just feel like they exist to annoy the other person.
Yeah, exactly. But there's no like even in that romantic scene on the Falcon where they're trying to, she's trying to fix something and he comes in and all this other shit, it's still them making fun of each other. Right. It's like,
it gets a little rapey. It's a little bit of a rapey encounter. He's like the dirty guy at a dance club coming up on a girl that doesn't want to dance, and he's finally just like, "Fuck it, I'm going to take my shot." Yeah. And if she doesn't call the police, I guess I'm good. But it was nice to get kind of Leia's point of view on Han officially laid out in this issue. Yeah. So good that it's back on track. Hopefully it continues to be that way, and we get some more good insights on what happens between ESB and ROTJ. But you never know. I guess with these comic book runs, you can just hit a 3-arc slump where it's just like, damn, what the fuck is happening here? And it just doesn't really hit. So glad that it's back on the good side of things. We kind of are staying in the publishing realm here for this next one. But we're not going to be talking about comic books, or we're not going to be talking about
anything that's been released yet. In fact, we're going to be talking about stuff that's not going to get released. And specifically
DOA.
in the Mandalorian timeline. So this is the Mandalorian official novel, and the visual guide are no longer being released.
Right. And it's just not even a delay, right, Nick? I mean, they're just fucking dead.
Yeah, they're just dead. So this was announced by both Del Rey Books, which Del Rey Books is the main publisher for everything Star Wars, and then DK Books US, which was going to be the visual guide publisher. They both announced that those two books will not be released at all. There's a lot of speculation about why different things are being canceled. I think it's pretty clear. Yeah, I mean, well, for the visual guide, like everybody's just assuming that the novel's being nixed because of Cara Dune's character, and she was probably written into it.
Yeah, I tend to agree as well, because I mean the official statement is the story continues to unfold on screen. It's like, well, it was when you gave this guy the deal to write the fucking book too. So
so I don't know if apparently this had been in progress for a while, so I don't know if the story that was being told puts her in a position to where like her story needed to be continued and in seasons upcoming or what. And they were like, instead of just trying to rewrite the whole thing, just nix it. But for the visual guide, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because you can just remove her page. Like the visual guide has so much shit in it that doesn't refer to her or that doesn't really involve Cara Dune that it doesn't make a lot of sense why you would cancel that.
Yeah, so I mean, what do you think that's all about then? Was there stuff in there that they've already had to change for, Book of Boba or season 3 script writing?
It's very possible. It's very possible. It depends on how much Star Wars, like how much LFL and everybody else let the book publishers know was going to happen, and it depends on what exactly they wanted to be in there. Because I mean, if you're putting out a definitive guide, like the ultimate visual guide for the Mandalorian, it's hard to do that when it's a continuous story. Like for Rise of Skywalker, for TLJ, for TFA,
they're
for all
self-contained.
Of the movies,
it's a movie.
Exactly. If you were to do it for the Mandalorian after season 2 and there's 5 more seasons planned, then a year down the road, you're going to be like, well, we got a whole bunch of shit now that would need to go into this visual dictionary that we probably,
I mean, and I'm surprised they didn't take this route to start, because, as much as we love Lucasfilm and all the people that make Star Wars, they know how to beat the license like a dead horse. So why not just do a visual guide for each season? Yeah. I mean, that would make the most sense to me. And then like you could have Din in there every season with his slight changes to his armor, explaining how you could finally get why his left knee pad isn't the same as his right knee pad. They'll tell we didn't see it play out on screen, just like Boba Fett painting his armor. How could he paint his armor on the ship?
And I can tell you right now, this is a leak that I know somebody at DK Books, they were going to explain that in the visual guide. They had the person who painted his armor in the book.
Finally, we would have had that mystery solved. That would have been an unsolved mystery solved.
Now we're not getting it. So it sucks for everybody out there who was really invested into the Boba paint job. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you that the book itself, the actual novelization, was probably nixed due to whatever story was in there about Cara.
Well, I mean, I don't want to, because I'm sure one group of people made it, it's definitely, this is just the further continuation of their censorship of this person, blah, 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 all that dumb shit. We also have the creator of this series on record saying that he didn't even know Luke Skywalker was going to be in season 2 when he sat down and started writing the first few episodes.
Yeah.
I do believe that this show is also very organic, dynamic in nature, and that things probably had changed in the writing room after they gave this author the charge to write a novelization. Was it just season 1? Was it into season 2? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine? Because writing a novel takes a long time.
Oh my God.
It's not like you say, hey, write the Mandalorian official novel on January 1st, and then by February 28th, the guy's finished.
No.
Like, it takes sometimes upwards of a year to write a novel.
I'm pretty sure this was done in the can, ready to ship.
Yeah, and then, you know, you don't know what was being done in terms of like what happened with Grogu, and then now we already have that resolved. Like, it's hard to write a book when you're trying to when you're telling stories about things that are already actively being told. Right. Like, and this is very unique in terms of like the story that's being told in the Mandalorian novel included the main characters, whereas if you look at a lot of the stories that were being told in either old EU novels or whatever, like they're either happening after the events of everything that we saw on screen, right, or they were happening with characters that weren't really being touched all that much in the timelines. Yeah, I mean,
there could have been changes to Din's past. Like maybe they featured some flashback shit in the book that now has been fundamentally altered by the fact that he's linking up with real Mandalorians, Bo-Katan, Casca. So I'm not going to deny that some of the Cara Dune stuff probably helped make this call, but this is something I assume they hired the writer, they commissioned the book back before the show became a fucking global juggernaut. They didn't know where things were going to go. They had no clue about the immense popularity with Grogu, with Din himself, with some of the other side characters. So in the end, they probably were like, hey, well, we had this Gina thing to deal with anyways, and the book was already starting to kind of not line up to what the show has been telling or will tell in the future. Let's look at the contract, see how much we owe the author, pay him, and then just fucking burn this thing.
Well, yeah. They've also kept him. His name is Adam Christopher, the guy who was writing it. They already said that he's, you know, still on staff. He's writing a new Star Wars novel as they speak. So, like,
and all he's doing is editing the script and putting strike through Cara Dune and replacing it with a New Republic Ranger. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So those are the two pieces of news here from Mandalorian. Not a lot of. I don't necessarily care about the novel. That people didn't even know that these were coming.
Right. I know. I think Tones was looking forward to reading them. I'm a big fan of the visual guides, even though I think it's from everyone's favorite Pablo Hidalgo. Yeah. I'm probably more bummed with the visual guide because, hey, it's big pictures and it's nerdy stuff. Like, hey, that metal thing you saw, that's a clinky dinky 9000. It's like, oh yeah, that
nice.
But yeah, I'm not fucking reading that book. I can't even listen to the High Republic novel, so there's no way I was gonna read a Mando novel. Please, that's what Disney Plus is for, my friends. But yeah, so if you have those, make sure you got your money back because they are dead, not coming out, not delayed. They're just done.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know that I saw on some of the posts that like, oh, what's going to happen to our pre-order and stuff like that. And like DK and Del Rey have responded saying that that refunds and like pre-order refunds should be coming pretty soon for these particular books. So if you had them pre-ordered, you didn't get your refund already. It should be coming down the pipe pretty soon.
Yeah. Okay, we're not leaving Mando yet because our next topic here, this is not as factual as the last one. The last one's legit. There's no rumors there. Those two properties are dead. But we did get some rumor rumblings about some castings for Mando, Nick. And I don't know if you checked this one out, but it actually dovetails into a rumor we talked about a few months ago before we even knew the Book of Boba was going to be a real thing. This is when everyone was still speculating like, hey, Boba Fett's more than likely back because we saw him in episode 1, and there's a good chance they're going to have some sort of Boba Fett prequel series, which, hey, they did. Mm-hmm. It's called the Book of Boba. It's coming out this December. But when we were talking about that, we talked about a casting rumor for Sophie Thatcher and Jordan Bolger about them being attached to the Boba Fett prequel. Well, last week, thanks to Murphy's Multiverse, it appears that the leakers out there, the shit talkers, the poo flingers, the shit stickers, whatever we are, we kind of got things a little mixed up because the new report is that while these two actors are still attached to a Star Wars project, a live action Star Wars project, it's starting to sound like they're actually tagged for Mando S3 and not Book of Boba. And we've actually got some code names for their roles. Now, these are just code names. We're not saying these are real. But apparently, Sophie and Jordan will be playing some combination of Drash and Scad. So I'll kind of read the recap here. Again, these are now pegged for Mando versus the Boba prequel. The roles, labeled Drash and Scad, were both for British-sounding supporting characters, one male, one female, both in their late teens, early 20s, both members of a street crew, in what can only be assumed as either as a small mistake made in the initial reports or as a natural evolution of the writing process of these shows. We can now confirm that these two characters will instead be appearing alongside Pedro Pascal's Din Djarin in the third season of The Mandalorian in what seems to be the first addition to the cast after the record-setting season 2. With Grogu having left the show, or did he, to be trained by Luke Skywalker, both Drash and Scad might turn out to be two characters that will try to fill the gap, as Din Djarin will need someone close to interact with.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, and I think a lot of what drew people to think that Jordan in particular was going to be attached to the Boba role was because he kind of looks like Tamira Morrison, like he looks like a younger Tamira. So there was this assumption that he was going to play younger Boba Fett. But given the nature of how these shows interact with each other, and also given that, you know, a lot of casting rumors, a lot of things that were attached to either Book of Boba or Mando before either of the two of them were, like, you know, officially connected, and especially for Boba before people knew about it. Like, it's easy to get these kind of things mixed up, especially when your sources are questionable or your sources are just telling you, like, hey, I guess these two actors are going to be in something.
Nick, it kind of piggybacks after our last topic. And, you know, maybe one of the reasons some of these books are getting canned is because things did change drastically in initial drafts. Like this is saying here, you know, maybe Drash and Scad were initially planned for Book of Boba, but then, you know, they did some of the crossover, some of the writing. They're like, these may work better down the road in Mando season 3.
Yeah, I find it highly unlikely that these two actors were planned for Book of Boba as different characters, and then LFL was just like, oh, well, wait, we already have them hired, so let's just change what they were doing and then put them on a different show. Like,
the one thing I'll say, though, just because this one keeps getting a little more meat added to it, I am going to go and say that Sophie and Jordan are 100%.
They're in Star Wars.
They're going to be in Star Wars, and more than likely they will be in Mando, because it does make sense. I mean, just think about the demo. They're going to be younger. They could be playing Mandalorians. They could be playing other foundlings that he runs into. I have to believe that season 3 really starts turning things towards Din's role with Mandalore itself. I think they're going to use Gideon as a source of information now that he's captured. I think they're going to kind of fill in a lot of the gaps between what we saw in the cartoons and what has been talked about in The Mandalorian, in particular from Gideon himself, the march, the Night of 1,000 Tears or some shit. I think we're going to get much more Mandalore focused, albeit with it taking place in the larger circus pavilion of what the Remnant is up to. Who knows, maybe Luke and Grogu every once in a while you get a check-in, maybe you get a Thrawn drop here and there, and a Ahsoka drop here and there, a Hera, blah, blah, blah. But I do feel like Mandalorian is going to be shifting more towards Mandalore lore and stories versus Din just being an Uber driver for a highly coveted Force being.
No, yeah, I think you're right. I think that given the way that season 2 ended with this whole, you know, hubbub about the
look at that.
Now.
That's a huge cliffhanger that we all tend to forget about because we're all so fucking collectively blown away by the Luke reveal. there's still some major drama going on with the heroes by the time those credits roll.
Yeah, so that needs to be addressed in its entirety. Like, I don't think that is a storyline that you can just kind of like pick up and then leave and then pick up again and then leave it. Like, you need to address what the fuck is happening with the Darksaber in its entirety in season 3. Like, you can't just say like, oh, this is going to be like the Zero the Hutt shit in Clone Wars.
They're
where
good.
We're going to do one episode in season 1 and then one in season 5.
Right. Yeah, they pay off on it in season 10. They'll finally come back to where,
they're like, oh yeah, here's the Darksaber again. Well, no, that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed in a big way. And given the fact that you now have Boba here, and Boba in the Book of Boba Fett, and you have all of these different kind of Mandalorian ties that are now attaching themselves to Din. I think that at least the first half of season, or at least I'll put it this way, at least half of season 2 needs to be completely dedicated to Din and the Mandalorians.
Yeah, because the other big thing out there still is, what are they doing with the second round of Grogu blood? Like, what's all the sciencey shit happening? Why did we get a Thrawn mention? So you're right. I mean, you're going to get a lot of Mandalore lore resolution or continuation, but you also have to keep the looming presence of the remnant out there as well. Like, they're not just going to go to Mandalore and deal with Mandalore drama. There's a good chance the Imperial remnant is not going to want them to get back to Mandalore, as we kind of found out in season 2. You do not want a battalion of armed Mandalorians on your case. Like, that's just it seemed to them worse than having the Jedi back.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like the Imperial remnant's already going about like taking care of this, because we saw in season 2 that they essentially wiped out the entire covert that was on Navarro.
They're going around looking for them and zapping them, and they even do this in Rebels, where you see how fucked Mandalore is because of Sabine's weapon and the mass killings they would do there. So I don't know. I have a feeling Drash and Scad will have some ties to Mandalore itself. I don't think there's just going to be some crew that he links up with, and if that is the case, that they're going to have something in their past that kind of crosses with Din's endgame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is a good piece here. I mean, we know that Mando season 3 is not going to be this year.
No, Mando season 3. It sucks. I know we're gonna have Boba. It'll be fine. But man, 2 years we're talking from the time we left Din, we're not going to see him again. So
it's a long wait, and you typically don't get that with recurring TV shows. Usually for TV shows that are kind of a shorter run series, like you'll get a year off, like we've been getting with Mando. Getting 2 years off of a show like The Mandalorian
it doesn't happen. Unless we had the writer's strike, I think back in the early 2000s.
Like a cancellation, and then a different network picks it up.
That derailed a few shows. But you don't typically get this long. I think Westworld went a year and a half between seasons.
Yeah, season 2 was hot garbage.
But I don't know.
I couldn't even get past. I couldn't finish.
I love Westworld. So I stick with it. I like all the weird shit. So I'm still a Westworld fan. If they make another one, I'll watch it. So,
if they make another one where it's not Westworld, like I would like to find one where it's like focused on a different world, because
Jonathan Nolan, I want you to make a Westworld that's not Westworld.
Well, just make it to where it's like it focuses on a different area of the park, or something like that.
Season 3, it's outside the park. If you can make it to season 3, it doesn't even deal with the park anymore. So
I don't know. Season 2 was so bad.
He was done. All right. Well, anyways, keep an eye out for the. I really think Sophie and Jordan are going to get the official blessing at some point in time. Obviously, if they are Mando season 3, it's going to be a while. But there's a lot of smoke around these two actors, so I definitely think there's some legitimacy to Murphy's multiverse report here.
Yeah, for sure. Next piece up is still relatively in the Mandalorian theme and the Mandalorian
it's live action
sphere.
Star Wars-ish.
Yeah. live actiony, but it's more of a denial.
This one's great.
Else, so.
Like there's no rumor, there's no guessing here. This is as definitive as it gets, unless Big Ben Cumberbatch is just being an epic troll and an epic shade thrower, or not shade thrower, but he's basically being a magician here. He's creating an illusion for us all that he wants us to buy into.
Yeah, so the biggest rumor, well, not even rumor, but like one of the biggest wants out there for Thrawn was for Benedict Cumberbatch to play the character. And we've seen a ton of renderings of Benedict playing him. I believe we even looked at one that Blainer Things did when he was a guest on the show. So on an interview with Collider, Benedict basically came out and said that he has no interest in playing Thrawn. So this was how the exchange went. This
is awesome. I mean, this is like it's very Cumberbatch too, but
so Collider asks him, about the potential.
I didn't put the initial quote in, Nick, but basically I think it's Steve Weintraub from Collider. He's like, "Hey man, Star Wars. You ever hear of Thrawn? A lot of people think you could play him." And Ben says something and he goes, "Oh no, he's blue. He's a very cool character that's a villain. You'd be under a blue makeup thing. I'm just curious if you've heard about it." And go ahead, what does Cumberbatch say?
Yeah, Cumberbatch says, "That's a straight no from me right now." That's almost like Randy Jackson on American Idol.
Yeah, I love it.
Answer, that's a no from me, dog. But he goes on to say, he's like, "There's no way I want to be turned blue."
I love the honesty here.
Yeah, I turned the air blue very recently. And then he says, no, seriously, I have precious time with my children. And I think sitting in a makeup chair and being painted blue and the amount of time it would take to do that and then take it off at the end of the day might just, it's not the right time in my life for that. So it seems like he didn't even know who the character of Thrawn was. Right. And two, it seems like being painted blue is not something.
That's it. Like it has nothing to do with Star Wars or the character or figuring out how to act Thrawn. It's just he does not want to be in a makeup chair for 6 hours a day. And I love the honesty. It's like, and clearly this guy is at a level in his career where he can basically poo-poo a Star Wars fan casted role and be like, get the fuck out of here. I mean, I'm already Doctor Strange and Sherlock and all this other shit. I don't need it. But I like to just like, no, fuck that shit. I mean, it's because of the blue skin. It is nothing else. Yeah. It's just getting painted. He gave it a big fuck no.
Yeah. And look, like he's right too. I know that we can do a lot of shit with digital effects now, and I'm sure that they could turn somebody's skin blue with digital effects, but they're not going to do that. They're going to pick whoever's playing them. You're going to at least get your face completely, your face and hands, all of your head painted blue.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as what Bautista probably had to go through for Drax. I mean, he had to get
that had to
painted gray and like those weird tattooy things
all
on.
Shit on him, so you're gonna at least get your head painted blue and potentially your hands if you're not wearing gloves, which is still a pain in the ass. So
must be nice to be a famous actor though, right? Where you don't even have to like dream about this. You can just instantly be like, no fucking way. No way.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. But like you put in the article, hopefully we'll get Lars Skarsgård. That's his name, right? That's his last name.
No, I think isn't he related to Mads?
Oh, Lars Mikkelsen.
Yeah,
I guess
him and
Skarsgård.
He's related to Mads and Phil.
Yes, Phil Mikkelsen. Yeah, but I think that he's the obvious choice here. I mean,
voiced him, and he
already
voiced him. He has the look. It's what we're gonna call the Katie Sackhoff effect, where you've already lived with the character. You've got a similar appearance, so let's just make the full on transition, make the crossover now.
Yeah, I agree. So obviously, there's been no casting news on Thrawn yet. We don't even know if Thrawn's going to be in the show or in a show. We assume that he will be, given the interaction that Ahsoka had with
Ahsoka 100%.
Morgan Elsbeth.
Ahsoka 100%, and I still think he will be kind of this the crossover villain. Maybe not Thanos level, but there could be. I mean, he could be the one that brings all the characters from the different shows together for an endgame type of team up, or it could be people that are working on Exegol. Who knows? But I think we will see Thrawn within the next 2 years in a Disney project, 100%.
Awesome. So it won't be Benedict Cumberbatch though, so get that out of your head.
He has uncasted, he has unfan casted himself, which just leaves it Fassbender now and a few other. But Jason Isaacs. I do think Lars is the natural choice here. Yeah, all right, dude. For this next one, Nick, I hate to leave you hanging, but as I teased before we went live, I should have went PP time before we turned on the mics, because it's really knocking on that prostate right now. So I'm going to let you kind of kick off this D. Bradley Baker, and I'll be back in 30.
Yep. There we go. So D. Bradley Baker is best known in Star Wars as the voice of all the clones. And in a recent interview, he gave some behind the scenes, a little bit of information on what's going on in the Bad Batch and what really came about to bring the Bad Batch to life. So this was an interview with D23, and Baker says about the Bad Batch, he says, it takes what we found in the Clone Wars to another level of depth and awesomeness. It's real Star Wars in the best possible sense. You have this gang of really interesting super soldiers, and what they end up being asked to do is a lot of fun and very, very interesting. It's an amazingly dramatic and satisfying series of or story for anyone, whether you know Star Wars or not, but especially if you love Star Wars. A fan who has paid attention to where things ended in the Clone Wars might be able to guess where things are going to start in the Bad Batch. Right. So this was, again, D23 magazine. So that last quote there really does kind of open up the speculatory gates, I guess you would say, because there has been a lot of questions about what's going to happen with the Bad Batch, what exactly is going to be their mission now that so we're in Empire times, right? Now.
And there are two quotes that you hit on that I think are worth spending a few minutes on. The first one is, you have this gang of really interesting super soldiers, blah, blah, blah. And what they end up being asked to do is also a lot of fun and very, very interesting. And here's my guess on this, because we have seen them in the trailers, knowing who the Bad Batch are. I have a feeling right off the bat, and it's probably going to come from Tarkin, they're going to be asked to kind of be a special force to hunt down Jedi, I believe.
Jedi, yeah.
I believe the Bad Batch will be single-handedly tapped for a Jedi hunt, and I think that's what's going to start getting their wheels turning on Kamino. What the fuck is going on here?
Exactly. We don't know, again, we don't know what level of knowledge the Bad Batch has of what's going on in the universe. I know that in the trailer, we essentially see the Order 66 play out on Kamino, or the announcement of the first Galactic Empire. And
right. I mean, we
that.
See his Empire Day speech plays out, and even then, I think it was Hunter, and they showed a scene where they might be getting shot at. But I believe on Kamino, they're instantly going to know something is not right. I don't think the Bad Batch, being as kind of fucked up as they were, I don't think they got the chips. I don't think they ever planned to make it this long. They were probably planning to just die.
Yeah. So that actually makes me think that getting a directive from Tarkin may not happen, because Tarkin would essentially know these dudes aren't jacked into our bullshit. They're completely disconnected. So it almost leads me to believe that they're going to escape Kamino, obviously, once this all happens, because if they're being shot at by regular fucking clones on Kamino.
Well, it was good guy dark troopers that were shooting at them in the trailer. But again, it was on Kamino. It does seem like their brothers, or those that were programmed, ultimately can be turned on them.
Turning against them. Yeah. So I don't know if they're going to get a directive from any Imperial officer. I think that once this goes down, they're probably going to pretty quickly search out somebody that they know. They're going to look for somebody that they knew either within the Senate, somebody that is not directly.
So do you
linked
think
to the
that will be
Emperor.
the someone that ends up asking them to do something that is a lot of fun and interesting?
Yeah, like I think it might be Bail. I don't know.
I was
mean,
leaning
Bail,
towards some Bail action.
Yeah, because Bail is the one guy who's really connected, like who has a much bigger role in the formation of the Rebel Alliance, especially around this time period. That
and
like
he knows about
people
what happened.
reached out to.
He knows what happened to the Jedi. Like he knows the truth because he essentially helped save Yoda and Kenobi by default.
Yeah.
So I definitely could see Bail kind of getting a hold of them, and be like, listen, this is what's fucking going on. We need you to find this person or try to save some Jedi, try to save Kenobi.
I mean, I know that D mentions, if you know where things ended in the Clone Wars and blah, 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 you may have an idea of going, guessing where this is going to go. But I mean, even going forward to The Mandalorian, one of the earliest pieces of speculation that I believe that you threw out, Matt, was like, hey, what if these motherfuckers are tasked with saving Grogu?
Right.
Like we know that he was essentially hidden in the Jedi Temple. Like and we don't know how he got out. Like maybe he got out, maybe one of the other Jedi who escaped the temple after the massacre was able to kind of take him and get out. Or maybe it was the Bad Batch who got in there, and maybe it was Bail who told him like, hey, look, we have a very valuable asset that's in the temple that needs to be saved, and then they go and save.
I'm with you. It just I think Grogu, Ahsoka, Rex, Wolf, and Gregor all have high potential for cameos, if you will, in the Bad Batch. I'm thinking more and more Ahsoka and Rex may be a very last minute, hey, tip of the hat type of thing. Like, glad you guys got out. Here are some of your other brothers that aren't warped by the chip. Have a good life, stay safe, and we'll try to rebel at some point in time when it's safer to do so. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if we get, like, if Ahsoka is in it, like, do we get early Fulcrum days already? Like, do we get to see her?
I don't, unless the show plans to do a little bit of a time jump, which it may, but based on the trailer, it looks like it's probably going to directly pick up right where season 7 ended, which was the end of the Clone Wars, the rise of the Empire. So I'm thinking, like I said, Ahsoka and Rex early on in the Bad Batch, they're still mind-fucked, emotionally destroyed, just trying to survive and hide. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think they'd be reserved for the end. Like, maybe they're the ones giving the Bad Batch the directives secretly, right? Maybe they're working through Bail, or maybe they're through another code name. Maybe it is through Fulcrum. They're giving Bad Batch directives. But I think they had their time in the sun. Clone Wars finale. I mean, that was some of the best Star Wars TV out there with those two characters. And they would dominate the Bad Batch. So I think they are saved for just like the end of Clone Wars Season 7, where you get that little Vader nod at the end, a slight flash forward. I could see them being featured that way. But Wolf and Gregor, there's great potential there, because we don't know how they make it to that desert planet with Rex. So there is a vehicle to tell that story via the Bad Batch, and I'm hoping we get that. But you never know now, all the possibilities for Grogu now that his past has been revealed. So he also is a candidate for this show. And Nick, they included Fennec for a reason. Probably to tie into some of the stuff we'll learn about her in the Book of Boba and a lot of these other shows. I mean, she could be a ranger, yada, yada, yada. So we'll probably get a little bit more targeted backstory on Fennec. And by target, I mean they're going to show us things that will make her character make even more sense when we see her down the road in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I agree there. So yeah, there's a lot of potential avenues for this show to go. I mean, are they essentially just on their own without orders? And if that's the case, what are they doing? There's a good question out there about that. Like, or do they eventually link up with somebody in this newly formed rebellion?
I do think just because of who they are and how they operate. I mean, I'm not going to say they're dummies, but they are a special force that requires direction. I don't think they're like a Rex where they sit there and will come up with their own missions. I mean, they are as troopy as it gets. Like, sir, yes, sir. Go fucking do this daring mission, take them out and come back. I don't think they would sit there and, without a little prodding from an outside force, and try to save the galaxy.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them, like Crosshair, they're probably at that moment, what we're thinking is going to be a fallout on Camino, they're probably more concerned about just saving themselves. Yeah,
exactly. Like, for a good bit of the beginning of the show, I imagine it's going to be purely self-preservation. But then, I mean, they are very much a military troop where they're like, we take orders and we don't really know what to do if we don't have orders. Right. you know, we probably just fucking sit around. But eventually I feel like if they don't link up with Bail or somebody, then they need to autonomously be able to say, like, hey, this is what we have to do. Like, we need to make the decision to fight against whatever's happening.
You're right, and that's why I do think they are going to have a fulcrum of sorts, if that makes sense to everybody. Someone either directly or indirectly is going to be slipping them information that lets them know that shit has gone sideways. They're no longer on the good team, and they need to get their shit together to help the good guys.
I wonder if they catch Kenobi's broadcast.
Right.
Because you remember in episode 3, he puts in that broadcast when they're at the temple. Like, hey, I put this broadcast in here warning all surviving Jedi to stay away, and kind of giving them the update on what happens. I wonder if they catch that. And then I wonder, like, it would be really cool if there is some sort of like secret HoloNet broadcast that's being, you know, like you said, like a Fulcrum type character. That's just like, hey, this is what's happening. Almost like a, you know, like a rebel broadcast. And like, this is what's happening.
To these coordinates and you go there.
Come here. Like, you always see it in like zombie movies where they pick up the fucking phantom radio cast and it's like, we're safe here, come here. And then you get there and it's a fucking trap and there's a bunch of zombies. But maybe something like that happens and they pick up this transmission and they meet them somewhere. Like, maybe they go to, you know, maybe they go to Alderaan, maybe they go to Dantooine. I mean, Dantooine was a place that I think is really ripe, especially now, for expansion, because Dantooine was the planet that Leia told Tarkin in episode 4, like, this is where the rebel base is.
It was a rebel base. It has Jedi ties, right? Doesn't Dantooine have Jedi ties?
Dantooine was a kyber crystal, like where you get kyber crystals. So I feel like if you're gonna bring in the planet of Dantooine eventually into like Star Wars canon again, like, this would be the perfect way to do it, because it would essentially be one of the first rebel bases.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know. I have high hopes for the Bad Batch. I really think it's not going to be the Clone Wars. I mean, it's going to have that look and feel, but I think it truly will stand out as its own way to deliver a Star Wars tale.
I definitely
and I'm excited for it. I mean, I think there's probably going to be some final resolution for the Bad Batch. You would think that these guys probably aren't going to make it out, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I if it's just a one season run, then so be it. I'd almost prefer it be that, because then we know we're going to get a very targeted story that is going to complete the tale of the Bad Batch, but also prop up and add some more meat to the bones of a lot of these stories that have been picked up on in Rebels, Mando, and hopefully all these other announced live action shows.
Yeah. I mean, even if it is a multi-season type of story, you would imagine that it would have to come to a close pre-Rebels timeline. Like, because there's no way.
Oh, dude, even then, Star Wars Rebels. Even then, you're looking at damn near 15 years of time to tell. So I do think this is self-contained. I mean, I'm sure D. Bradley Baker would like it to be more. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, just go read this and think about what this guy had to do for this series.
Yeah, you are literally, not only are you voicing 4 different main characters, you have to come up with personality types
and talk to yourself, like literally have full-on scenes between 4 characters in your head that's still just you.
Yeah,
or 5 like or so. I mean, Jesus, it's crazy.
That's very, very.
You difficult. Know, it was hard to read because some asshole just scanned it, right? He said it was actually easier to bring the Bad Batch to life because they are so much different than normal clones. They all do have very distinct personalities. You know, Wrecker the meatball, Crosshair the edgy one, Hunter the leader, Tech the geek. So he really had kind of tropes he could fall into. But it's just crazy. Like this guy. Just for this, most of the season, probably just sits in a room and fucking talks to himself in different voices.
Yeah, no,
different voices that all ultimately sound the same, right? Because they all still have to be Tamira.
How do you think that they did that? Do you think that, like, say they're having a 5-way conversation? Do you think that they okay, so he does all of Wrecker's lines and then uses that as like the spot point to like start conversing with himself, or do you think he actually has the conversation with himself in order?
I love thinking about that type of shit, Nick, and I would assume they leave it up to D.
However he wants.
It's like, dude, do you just want to go through the scene and you know look like you need psychotherapy because you're essentially channeling different voices in your head, or do you want to act off of a recording of you doing a character? Yeah. But I could see D just sitting there like, and then switch it up like, ho, 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 and then he. It's like, Jesus. By the end of this, he probably doesn't know who he is.
Dude, that's got to be so difficult. Because, I mean, like the one easy thing about voice acting sometimes is that, like, you are voice acting next to somebody else. Like, you're essentially, like, the conversations that you're having are with other people.
It's still similar to acting where you are... kind of working off of another living being. I mean, D literally is just working in his head.
Yeah. And I can't imagine that these characters are going to have too much interaction with people outside of their main group, right? Given the situation that they're in this series.
I mean, he probably, I bet days when Ming-Na Wen came in, he had him circled on the calendar like, thank God I get to talk to another human that's not me.
Human here. Oh yeah, dude! It had to be.
But he's all over. I think I forget which cartoon the little one and I were watching, but he was in that. I mean, I don't know if we've gotten into.
D is one of the
he's all over
prolific.
We've gotten into Phineas and Ferb.
All
because they did a full-on Star Wars special like in 2014, and it prominently displays in Disney Plus if you go to a kid account. So we start with that, and she actually dug it. And I'm not going to lie, Phineas and Ferb is a pretty good cartoon. And their Star Wars parody is fantastic. I mean, they clearly got the blessing from Lucasfilm, Disney. I mean, because they use actual character names and plot lines, but it was fun. So anyways, D. Bradley Baker definitely had some motivational things to say about the Bad Batch coming up here on May the 4th be with you, which is going to be a hell of a day for us. Not only is my fat ass going to have to get up and do all that circle jerk shit to cover the premiere of Bad Batch, but I believe Spunky has lined up an interview with SW Props for May the 4th, which actually is a great interview for Star Wars Day, even though, as I said last year during that Disney reveal, that should be the new Star Wars Day. We'll stick with it. We'll stick with May the 4th. But I don't know. I feel like SW Props is like the embodiment of Star Wars fandom, at least the collecting side. So I think that'll be a fun chat, and hopefully we'll get to learn a little bit more about where he gets all these amazing toys and opportunities with said toys. But yeah, Bad Batch, here we go. Going to be a busy day on May the 4th.
Prepare for it now. So... the last piece of news that we have before we get into our fan segment
is a fresh.
Yeah, fresh off the presses, hot off the presses. And this is around the. I mean, at this point, it's basically confirmed casting because the rumor came from THR. I mean, it wasn't really a rumor. Like THR and all of the big Hollywood sites, Deadline put it out as like he's got this. So there was Mina Masood threw up an IG post today, shirtless, and Matt caught very astutely that the quote on this post is a quote from none other than Ezra Bridger.
I mean,
himself.
Verbatim, people. This isn't like just lucky happenstance or circumstance. I mean, Mina is channeling his inner Rahul Kohli right now. If this is if he's just trolling, because this is way too targeted to just be a coinky dink.
Yeah. So the quote says, "Hey, just so you know, when I escape, I won't hurt any of you." And Matt, you did some scouring on the internet. You were able to find the actual sequence in the Rebels show where Ezra says this, and it looks like he's fighting through an Imperial facility. He's fighting some stormtroopers, and then before the action happens, he tells him, he's like, "Hey, just so you know, when I escape, I won't hurt any of you." And you can see when he's fighting, like he's not actually killing them, like he's cutting their guns in half. He's deflecting.
That's exactly what happened. It was
away from them.
I think it was episode 8 or 9 of season 2. Ezra is captured by a group of stormtroopers, and like Nick said, he drops that quote, and then obviously Jedi's their ass. But I mean, come on, if you start doing targeted captioning like that, like I said, you're either Mina has caught on to the movement out there in the fandom and he's trying to have some fun like Rahul was, or he is trying to skirt as close to that NDA line as he can get without getting sued. Yeah, because it's not like he doesn't even have it in quote, like he doesn't have it like quoted to where people would know if this was a quote. And in fact, people now are on the poster like, "Oh, it's an Ezra quote. It's an Ezra quote." Like they picked it up, but I don't know how many people out there would know that. Only us goons, and I didn't. I mean, obviously, I picked it up off of our usual source, but dude, copy that quote and throw it into a search engine, and it made press. I mean, you drop that quote right now. "Hey, just so you know, when I escape, I won't hurt any of you." Everything is targeted to Mina. So it was a masterful social media job. If it was just to get some juice today, he fucking nailed it, because if you search that quote, it doesn't even bring you to the episode. It just says, "Ooh, Mina Masood said this," or "Mina Masood did an Ezra thing. Mina Masood basically guarantees he's in Rebels now, or he's live action Ezra." Right. So I mean, it's ballsy. It's ballsy if he actually is. I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah. But then again, man, I think that does ride that perfect line, that NDA line, because he can say he's like, how many people out there fucking, I mean, he could probably say that there probably aren't 2.3 million people who've watched Rebels all the way through. If you think about it, you may be close. Right. It may be 2.5, maybe 3 million people have seen Rebels all the way through, but it's not like that show was, advertised. And dude, trust me, I am a junkie. We do a podcast. I just rewatch Rebels. I have no fucking clue who that quote was from until I started diving into it. So no way, because when you posted it and I looked at it, I was like, oh shit. I guess it is an Ezra, because there was no way that I would be organically scrolling through my shit and see this. Yes, I needed the internet's help on this one. I like to say I'm a Star Wars savant, but the only thing that would trigger somebody to look up that quote is that this picture is so much different than everything else on his feed. So that he posted this with some sort of reason behind it. Yeah. It's not like a shot that he did to, that fits along with all the shit that's been on his page. This was for a specific purpose. And that line, you knew that line was something. Even the picture itself. I mean, you say whatever you want about his bare chest. That looks like Ezra Bridger. Yeah. It looks like an older, real meat and bones Ezra Bridger. Like,
and you can see that like he's been posting. One thing that he has been doing regularly is like his workout routine. Like he's been doing like progress shots. I mean,
he's gearing up for the fucking shoot. Now, is it the live action Ezra? Is he doing a bit for Ahsoka? Who knows? But come on. I mean, he's all he's missing in this post is wearing a fucking orange and tan jumpsuit and having a green lightsaber.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so this was like the perfect like NDA line ride.
I still can't. Is it still posted? Like, I mean, has he had to take it down yet?
No, it's still up there because I'm looking. It's got 222,000 likes now. And it's like, it's funny too, because if you look at like, there's a lot of blue check marks who are on there.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, dude. Like,
but then like you get down to the regular people and it's like, Ezra Bridger, this is an Ezra quote. Oh my God, it's Ezra. And then like but then there are people who are like, what does this mean? I don't know what this is. What's this caption? So you can see that like sprinkled in there, there are people who are Star Wars nuts that have realized that like, holy shit, it's real.
Yeah, it's real. Basically, it's anyone that's not a celebrity knows it's Star Wars. All the celebrities are like, what the fuck is this shit? Everyone else is like, Ezra, what's that supposed to mean? Well, look it up. That's what the internet's for.
I mean, I'm excited.
Oh, here's one. Here's one. Oh, what's Ezra?
What's Ezra? Dude, that's the thing is like, if you look at the Rebels run, I mean,
no,
like,
you're right.
In comparison to the Clone Wars,
of course,
Clone Wars had a theatrical release, and it was on Cartoon Network, which was a much more watched TV station than Disney XD, which is where a majority of the Rebels run happened. So not only are you not getting the publicity that Clone Wars did, but you were on basically a buried TV network that if you didn't pay for like a premium package, you just didn't get it. So the fact that he has probably exposed the character of Ezra Bridger to more people just with that post than knew who he was to start with.
It is neat. Like, I mean, I'm happy for the dude if this is legit, which it has to be, right? I mean, at this point, it has to be. But just imagine if you're this guy right now, knowing that you're about to embark on, you know, a career journey that for the most part is going to end very, very well for you. It's only going to make you more prominent within the industry. It's probably going to lead to additional roles, big or not big, streaming site or not streaming site. You know, I think Daisy's in that movie with Tom Holland, although she gets none of the billing. I mean, it's just Tom Holland's Cherry, Tom Holland Cherry this, Cherry that. There's nothing about Daisy Ridley in that movie at all.
Yeah, like she literally got hammered. It's nuts how hard she got fucking, I don't know if it was blacklisted or what after Star Wars.
It's odd because, I mean, I would argue just what she put out on TFA was better than the acting Mark put out in the original trilogy. I love Mark. He's a great actor, but Daisy just had she played a much more emotionally intact character, one that could tap into the emotions and show it on screen. But yeah, no, I mean, she got bit by the Star Wars star bug. John looks like he's made it out okay.
John just won
a Golden Globe. He got a Golden Globe. But yeah, I mean, but his character was also relegated to the background. So it seems Daisy is going to be the one that takes it for the team on the sequel trilogy in terms of, I mean, she's kind of the fall girl. She's the fall girl for everybody.
Yeah. Oscar was already safe. You didn't have to worry about him. I think the good thing that John did is in between Star Wars movies, he fucking made Pacific Rim, which was another like tentpole, not really franchise, but like it was another big budget.
Yeah, and Daisy did too with that.
Murder on the Orient Express, you can argue that is a more artsy film,
right? But I mean, look at the cast. I mean, it was like star after star after star. So I mean, it still would have had the same billing as Pacific Rim, and probably less tongue-in-cheek criticism like a Pacific Rim will get from critics and whatnot. But I don't know. I mean, I thought it was hilarious. I knew this Cherry movie was coming out, but any of the advertising, especially on Apple TV Plus, is Tom fucking Holland. That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
because people love Spider-Man, dude, and for some reason, people hate Rey, and like I mean, that's just.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on them. I don't get it.
I don't know, but back to Mina, man. I mean, just think about this.
Yeah.
If this is legit, what's going on in his head right now, what he's getting ready to do, and what that must feel like. I think we'd all. I mean, when we were talking to Silas last week, we were asked some questions about the set without trying to look like two little fangirls. I mean, I was just sitting there thinking, like, my God, can you imagine what this man got to do? I mean, his stories about Abbey Road and the Frank Oz little anecdote, or just being on set with Qui-Gon and Sam and George himself. I mean, fuck. Yeah, like, Christopher Lee. I mean, come on.
Yeah, a lot of interactions with George, it seemed, for both roles, for for Newt and for Kiadi. And the thing about that interview that was so interesting is that, like, he was very workmanlike. He was like, "Oh no, I never got caught up in anything."
Which makes sense. I mean,
but like, if you talk to the stars, if you talk to Ewan, if you talk to, and this is true for a lot of stars, for like these big, huge multi-movie franchises, like when it came to the end, because that's what I asked him. I was like, when it came to Kiadi's death, or when it came to Newt's death, was there any sort of emotion? And Silas was very like, nope, this was my job. I did my job. That was it. But if you talk to Ewan, or if you talk to, like, for example, like RDJ with Iron Man, they're like, yeah, when it came to an end, like, I felt like you feel the end of essentially what was a 10-year period of your life. I mean, for Star Wars, a little bit less. It was like probably 7 or 8 when you add up filming and everything else. Like, you are, like, for Silas, less, because the characters, I mean, Newt was very prominent in episode 1, but the characters weren't as prominent as, like, the mains. But, like, for Ewan McGregor, he was Obi-Wan Kenobi in his everyday life for 8 years. And then when that franchise comes to an end, it's like, what do I do now? Like, what the fuck? So
yeah, and people like you, and they're also treated like royalty and gods on a set, so I'm sure that's a hard experience to say goodbye to, where you go from
home,
being,
you're like, what do you mean I don't have craft service?
I mean, what, no one's going to clean my trailer for me, or clean my toilets and all this shit, so I'd be sad too if I had to go back to real life. But I don't know, man. I mean, I'm happy for this dude. He's got to be the Ezra. He looks too damn good. The guy needed another gig after Aladdin. It seemed like he kind of got blackballed as well.
He's getting into the best Star Wars to get in now, and that's TV Star Wars. Damn
straight. It doesn't, like, piss people off. Star Wars is what they should call it. So
yeah, I know. Like, this is. I mean, I'm sure that they're out there trying to cast the movies right now, and
they're actors no way.
Like, you have a spot on the Mandalorian. Yeah, is there any more Disney
exactly
Plus
right?
Stuff
Right. Hey, can I talk to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, please? Like, no, Kathy, leave me alone. It is a bummer, because you got to think, like, a guy like Alden, he's probably shaking his head like, what the fuck did I get myself into?
If I was Alden Ehrenreich, I would be on the phone every fucking day to John and Dave and be like, hey guys, do you remember Solo? Right. I know it didn't make a lot of money, but it was good.
I can do it. Is Deborah available?
Ron Howard wants to do it.
Yeah, is Deborah available? I know she's doing something in that time frame with Kenobi. Yeah. I mean, Kenobi, guys, I could, you could see Han just walking across the street there, going to the cantina, right? Yeah. Right.
Han Solo knows Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hey, look, you got a Boba Fett series going on? If it's flashbacks, get my ass in there.
Please. You're giving Donald Glover another chance, but not me. Why not me? I love Kira.
I hope that Lando franchise pivots into Solo.
Fuck
shit,
yeah,
because I think it can.
And they both deserve more screen time. And so does Maul. I mean, that's what a lot of people forget when they're like, Solo, whatever. More Solo means more Maul, and I can get behind that any fucking day.
Means more Ray Park, means more Sam Witwer Maul coming back. I mean, you get
possibly more dick shots on IG too. You never know.
Yeah, dude. I hope so. I hope it happens, and I'm happy for Mina, and I'm really excited to see where this goes. And like you said, more than likely, this is probably going to be Ahsoka driven. But fuck, I mean, given the connection to Thrawn and everything else, there's a lot of opportunity for this character.
Yeah, I know we make fun of KRT and whatnot, but it's because they speculate versus get leaks. But a live action Ezra Thrawn isn't that far from reality. It really isn't.
It needs to happen if it's gonna happen, I gotta imagine it's gonna happen post Ahsoka.
Right.
Because I just don't know if there's enough content for potentially a mini series with just Ezra and Thrawn, if you're using it as a direct follow up from Rebels. It just doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot there unless they go way deep into literal the ascent.
Right, hanging out in the unknown regions and essentially becoming buddies and working together before they get found or find their way back.
Yeah.
So exactly. Who knows? So. But he's out there, and I'm just I feel like he's staring into my soul with his shirt off. This Mina Masood, just that look. It's like he's looking right at me, going, "Yeah, I'm fucking Ezra Bridger, and you know it." Yeah.
All he needs, literally, all he needs is a lightsaber in one of his hands, and that pose would just—it's
done.
Maybe you can't even see his hands. Maybe there's a lightsaber in his hand.
There you go. So I take it to the bank. Mina's going to be the live action Ezra at this point. It's unavoidable, and we know if he's fired by next week, then he definitely was live action Ezra and broke his NDA. That's how out in the open it is to Star Wars fans. I understand other people probably aren't going to get it, but hey, when it comes to Star Wars fans, we're super sleuths. We're going to figure out what you're up to, and we're going to try to get you fired.
Yeah, it's look, Disney, look what he did.
Look what he said. He used a quote. Now we know he's Ezra. And they'll be like, well, I guess you're right. Fired. You're fired.
Get out of here.
Vince McMahon.
Go sit in the jail with Gina Carano.
Yeah, you've been canceled.
Oh man! All right, so that pivots us into our fan segment this week, and not only do we have our fan question,
get ready for this,
our top 5, but after a couple of weeks of stewing, I did whip up the Marvel versus Star Wars battle bracket. So I don't know. So this is gonna be fun. It's a 16 player bracket, you could say. And we'll kind of go into it first because obviously we haven't started the matchups yet. So we can just do the bracket reveal. It won't be very long. And then we'll go from there into our regular fan segment. So Matt, I know I sent it to you on.
It's up. I got it posted.
Slacko.
They can see it.
So you can see here. This is how the bracket breaks out. It's a 16-person bracket. I picked 8 of each. So there are 8 Marvel characters and 8 Star Wars characters. And the way that the seeding plays out is as follows. Anakin Skywalker is the number 1 seed. I know that we did the Force bracket showdown and Obi-Wan Kenobi ended up winning, but I still think that in terms of this particular bracket, he is the number 1 seed. The number 2 seed is Scarlet Witch. There can be arguments about seeding. There always are arguments about seeding in this, but I decided to seed this a very particular way. Because of potential matchups and stuff like that could happen. The number 3 seed is Luke Skywalker. So, we have a Star Wars, a Marvel, and a Star Wars. It doesn't go down like that the whole way. But I think that Luke Skywalker is a fitting 3 seed. The number 4 seed is Emperor Palpatine. Start to go a little bit faster now. 5 seed, Wolverine. So our next Marvel characters in there, number 5, Wolverine. The number 6 seed is Revan. I will let you choose whether it is Darth Revan or Lightside Revan or Jedi Revan, or whatever you want. Revan is there. The number 7 seed, Captain Marvel. I like that one. Number 8 seed, Darth Maul. Number 9 seed, Thor. Number 10 seed, Magneto. Number 11, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Number 12, Hulk. Number 13 is Phoenix. I'm talking about Jean Grey as Phoenix, her Phoenix form. Number 14, oh no, I lost myself on there, is Ahsoka Tano. So yes, Ahsoka is in there. Number 15 is Rey, and number 16 is the Human Torch. So the bracket is already built and our matchups are already decided. So the first matchup is going to be number 1 seed versus number 16. So that's Anakin Skywalker versus Human Torch. I feel like we know who's going to win that one. The second matchup, this is going to be a fun one, is Darth Maul versus Thor.
That is a good one. You got a god versus a dark side boss.
Yeah. The third matchup is the number 4 seed Emperor Palpatine versus number 13 Phoenix, which, I mean, I know that we are a Star Wars fan base here, but to me, there's an argument that Phoenix upsets here. Like, I could see that happening. If that showdown really went down, and if you know Phoenix's powers, like, she may be a little underseeded.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, I obviously don't know Marvel as much as Star Wars, but to me, the Phoenix, the Dark Phoenix, whatever, I mean, she's like a celestial being that's up there with like a Scarlet Witch, I would think. So, yeah.
She is very, very powerful. And I did kind of argue back and forth in my head, like, did I seed her too low? Like, should she have been a top 10 seed or not? Like, it was difficult, but I put her lower because she doesn't have necessarily as much screen time as other Marvel characters. And like I told Matt, yes, I know that the Marvel characters I picked here aren't necessarily the strongest in the universe, whatever. Like, I picked ones that I assume that more people would know.
No, you're getting yelled at because you didn't include Captain, but it's like, all right.
Yeah. It's like I didn't include like one of the ones that I was on the fucking fence about was Vulcan, and I was like, not enough people know who Vulcan is, and Vulcan is Cyclops'
Yeah,
brother.
I was gonna say, what is
like,
that, Spock's planet?
Yeah, like not enough people know who these super powerful Marvel
No, you're
characters
fine.
are
Hey,
to actually.
That's the beauty of making your own bracket. You don't have to fucking justify it.
I don't care what you guys think. So this next one up is actually an argument that I've had with my friends
it's
for a long
known
time.
fight. Like, there's even a pretty good animated movie about Wolverine and Hulk.
So it's the number 5 versus number 12, Wolverine versus Hulk. I know who I want to win this one, and I know who I think would win, but I'm very curious to see who is going to come out on top.
I'm a Hulk homer. I love Hulk.
And I'm on the other side. I love Wolverine.
I do
So
too. I mean,
Matt,
I do too. It's just like, from what I've heard about this nerd debate, because I've had this too. Hulk versus Superman's another good comic book battle, because apparently, and I'm not as in the know, but from what I've learned about the Hulk, the more pissed off he gets, the stronger and more invincible he gets, right?
Yeah.
So, fighting Wolverine, gets stabbed a few times, that's just going to make him more resilient. He could smush Wolverine's head, but I guess he could technically grow it back.
But like, what he can't he squish it though? Because his skull is adamantium, so like he can't just crush him,
right?
Because his bones, because like that was one thing. Like, if you draw on a lot of like on-screen Wolverine shit, like you see that Wolverine actually kills Phoenix in the third X-Men movie, and she's like actively ripping his body apart.
Yeah.
And his regeneration is so strong that like even through his literal skin disintegrating, he just grows it back and is able to kill it.
I would assume that to do Wolverine good, Hulk would have to detach his head, rip all his appendages off, and then lock them up around the galaxy.
And that's what's so hard. Like, that's to me like why I think Wolverine wins this is because he just war of attrition's Hulk, and eventually Hulk goes back to Banner.
Yeah, I could just see Hulk being like, Hulk bored, Hulk quit, and he just he's like, fuck you, and he just walks away. He's like, you win.
Yeah. So like that's an interesting matchup to me, and that's the first one where it's a Marvel versus it's a same universe matchup,
right?
And there's one for Star Wars down at the bottom. So the next one is Scarlet Witch versus Rey, which I think with our fan base, I know how that's gonna go.
The dyad versus the one stronger than the Sorcerer Supreme. So
yeah. Next one up is going to be pretty interesting. Is Captain Marvel versus Magneto. So that's another all Marvel matchup. Next one up.
How could you do this to poor Ahsoka, man? I mean, that just seems mean.
Hey. So we got Luke Skywalker versus Ahsoka Tano.
Poor Miss Tano.
It's got to happen. That's how the seeding sat.
Yeah.
And then we have
snips.
Revan versus Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I think is a rematch. I think we actually had this play out in our Force user bracket previously.
Yeah, he helloed there him to death.
Yeah, he did. He just
hello there.
Somehow
hello there.
Obi-Wan Kenobi defeated
hello there.
one of the most powerful Force users ever on record by purely just saying hello there over and over again
and pointing the peace symbol at him.
Yeah. So that's the bracket.
All
so
right.
The first matchup that's going to come out will be Anakin Skywalker versus Human Torch. I thought it would be interesting because Human Torch can fly and just like throw fire at him.
Everyone just pretend that
hard to catch.
Just pretend that Human Torch is the early version of Captain America, right? Just use real life because Chris Evans was the Torch.
Yeah,
and then because I remember that like he played the Torch and whatever about those Fantastic Fours, but when he got Captain America, I was like, really? They made the Torch Captain America?
Yeah, no,
but
it's like this
obviously
because they're two completely different.
Oh yeah,
characters.
I mean Evans was kind of playing that high school douche up until that was kind of his go-to, like the douche.
Yeah, like he was even in if you've seen Not Another Teen Movie, that's exactly the character.
Scott Pilgrim, he's one of the douchey
Pilgrim.
boyfriends. I mean, he was a great douche until he became Steve Rogers, and then he became this like serious actor.
Yeah.
No, I like it. So the way to get involved with this, right, is on Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. Yes. Nick will have them. Do you do post and story?
You can only vote in the story.
Yeah, story voting only because it's a poll.
So I will. It's going to be a poll. I'll probably put out 2 matchups a week, and in that way that'll give us a lot of content for this bracket. So I'll do at least 2 matchups a week. I will put up a post, but it will it's only there to notify you that the story is up for voting. So make sure to go to our story, vote, and then each week on the cast we'll recap the matchups and who wins and who moves on as the bracket progresses down. So yeah, this will be fun. Like you could probably look at the bracket and maybe you can make your predictions and stuff like that based off of how you think it'll go. I will say that my dark horse for this whole run here is Phoenix is at the 13 seed. I think she can go far.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to go counter to our discussion, but 5 seeds can always do something crazy in a tournament. And it is good that you're doing this right now because I believe the tourney is starting. So look at
March Madness.
Look at Nick, like he's a fucking smart dude.
Yeah.
So I could see Wolverine making a run from that 5 spot.
Yeah. The 5 versus 12 matchup is always a toss up there, dude, because you get those random 12 seeds who come out and just fucking overperform.
And I became a huge Hulk homer after the first Avengers movie. I mean, I bought the huge maquette. I mean, it's like $650 fucking dollars. This thing is massive. But I just really fell in love with the character after that film. But I've always been a Wolverine guy too.
I know, dude. And like that, like I've been a Wolverine guy since I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean that X-Men cartoon. Fuck yeah,
series.
Of course.
Dude. Like that was it. And then
do you think I did anything besides watch TV as a little kid? I mean,
I don't know, man. I think that's all
I still had that fucking theme song in my head to this day. And I know it's out there on Disney Plus, but I have not rewatched the X-Men cartoon from the 90s.
Yeah, I love it. And Hugh Jackman was like literally the perfect human being to play live action.
Of course.
It was great. So excited to see how this bracket plays out. I think it'll be a fun one. And it'll give us, like I said, this will be a multiple week project. So after that, if we can come up with any other good ideas for bracketology, then we should at least try to
get it through all of March Madness. So maybe one more, but yeah, we did this a few times last year, took a break. So if you are new, welcome back to the battle bracket segment during the fan segment on the Star Wars Time Show. And like Nick said, most details can be found on Instagram at Star Wars Time Show.
Yeah, I'll probably put up the first bracket or the first matchup tomorrow. tomorrow. I'll look to put out the Anakin versus.
You heard it now. If he remembers, maybe he'll even do an at everyone in Discord just to let the diehards know. But yeah, keep it going. I have found, Nick, if you post in the morning around like 7 or 8, stuff like question of the day gets a lot more traction. So I don't know if that'll help you for the battle bracket, but
wake up.
You might have to start getting up before noon, but you can do it. All right. Question of the week. So this is again, we've been in the fan segment. It's just a little bit. It's supersized this week thanks to the return of the battle bracket. But now it is time for the question of the week, which is targeted to fall in line with some of our topics. So we asked you all, and you responded. Who is your favorite clone trooper and why? Just to kind of tie into the D. Bradley Baker and the upcoming launch of the Bad Batch. So up first, I'll take it because I already have to piss again. I knew it was going to be a bad day today. But OAC here. So OAC said, I know there isn't much about him, but my favorite would be ARC Trooper Colt. A, his helmet is freaking amazing. I'm obsessed with it. He went from letters to numbers. That's fine. 2, my brother gave me his figure years ago, and it created sentimental background for me. I 100% get that. And D, I love this. OAC is like
it's a Home Alone reference. I don't know if anybody in the world other than me caught that.
All right.
It's a Home Alone reference.
Well, good. I'm the idiot then, because I usually know a lot of pop culture, but OAC got me here. And then D, he was killed in possibly the most sexy Star Wars moment way, stabbed through the gut and a little kissy kiss from Miss Ventress. So yeah, it's Colt. I'm a skull kind of dude, not to mention he was one of the first extra arcs that I remember seeing. Oh, wait, out!
There we go.
Yeah, you can always count on OAC for some of the deep cuts because he's one of the bigger EU and just kind of side story people out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a fucking fantastic pull. So good stuff by OAC, Old Architect Customs on Instagram. This next one is funny because this is exactly the reason why people probably wouldn't pick him. But Jurassic Star Park Wars, God, that was hard to get out, says Fox because he killed Fives. You would imagine that most fans of the Clone Wars would not pick Fox.
Yeah, I'd say Jurassic Star Park Wars likes to troll, if anything else.
Yeah, so I like that because it was
and this person also forms handles like I used to when you try to jam in every one of your favorite things. Because I've told you before, though, my first handle that I used was Jedi Baggins 1138.
Yeah, dude, you were literally getting in.
I was loud and proud with my geekdom back then. I was like, yeah, I'm a Star Wars and Lord of the Rings fan, god damn it, and the world's gonna know.
Yeah, hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So Jurassic Star Park Wars says he likes Fox because he's a murderer.
Definitely going against the grain there. I mean, Fox is almost universally hated amongst Clone Wars fans.
Exactly. That's why I picked it. Kingdom of Weird also with a very unpopular response. He says, is this a trick question? Apart from the Bad Batch 99 and Boba, they're all the same.
No, they're not. Expendables. I like that. Well, I mean, technically not. We had what I like to call the named clones, and every named clone, in my opinion, did have a distinct personality. I know Kingdom's just fucking with us. But the one he does mention, 99, I don't know if that's a clone a lot of people remember. I actually just saw the episode. It's that ARC Troopers episode from season 3. But Clone Trooper 99 is one of my favorite too, because he is.
It was like the first defective.
Yeah, I mean, he is I mean, you got the Bad Batch. This guy's like the stanky batch. I mean, he was as malformed as it gets. Like, I mean, he aged quicker already than everybody. He was kind of a he was like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Everyone made fun of him because he could never be a realized clone, even though he still had the programming. I mean, he was essentially a janitor, right? And he would treat his janitorial duties as if he were going out on missions with his clone brothers to take on the Separatists. And he has kind of a tragic end, but it also brings all of the clones closer together and reminds them that, hey, everyone has a part in this battle, even those that may not have been scienced as well as the rest of us.
Yeah. So that was a good pull. So you know that Kingdom knows the deep cut name clones. He's just throwing out some shade. So
I like it.
I like the inclusion. Yeah, he said, Kingdom's in here. He says, was just joking. Of course, I want to see Rex and Ahsoka. So there we go. We know he knows this shit. Next up, this is from Cronadale.sw.
Yeah.
.sw. There we go. I'm going to go with the basic answer. Rex. He's probably the best executed character after Ahsoka.
Agreed.
That Umbara arc was brutal for him, and seeing him take a stand even against his programming was one of the coolest things done in the show. That was like that season 7 moment where like he starts to literally just lose it because of the Order 66 and everything that's happening, and how Ahsoka ends up saving.
I mean, that just sealed the deal on Rex. But Rex really, I mean, from the movie on up, was always made the most prominent clone. He was Anakin's right-hand man, therefore he was going to be featured heavily. I was expecting to see a ton of Rex answers, and we did get a few, but there was some good variety here. But yeah, of course, Rex, as we know it right now, is the one that makes it all the way through. I mean, he makes it through the Clone Wars, he makes it through the rise of the Empire, the fall of the Empire, and there's a good chance we may even be seeing what he's up to during the early, very early days of the Remnant, aka the First Order. So Rex is a Star Wars legend type of character, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. So love that answer there. Next one up is from LukeK.jpg. He says, Echo, just because we get to see him from a cadet all the way to bad batching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is one of the rare instances where you get to see a clone kind of, I don't want to say mature, but like
no, you do, because Echo, and I believe Fives is in there too, but they were in that group of kind of doofus clones that didn't quite have their shit together at the beginning of their training, and then they ultimately banded together and became one of the most memorable set of 501 clones out there, right? I mean,
definitely.
Echo, Fives, and Rex they're like this is a bad example, but they're like the Three Stooges, but not Stooges. You know, the Three Musketeers is probably a better
the Musketeers
probably a better comparison than the Three Stooges.
No, yeah. I think that's a good pull. Obviously, Echo, and we'll see more of Echo in Bad Batch, and hopefully we'll see a little bit more of Rex and the other guys.
The new and improved Echo, because he had a little tweaking from the Techno Union that has fundamentally changed him.
Yeah, he got low botted. So last answer up is from Lima for photos. So this time Lima got in a response that was just the right size for screenshot, because last time he had a very well detailed and thought out response, but it would have taken like 5 screenshots to get it in. This one, perfect size for one screenshot. He says, Fives, 100% Fives. He is perhaps the best representation of what Yoda said in that very first episode of the Clone Wars. In the Force, very different each of you are. And not just mindless drones, albeit one notch higher than droids. While his name is somewhat ironic, considering that he would later on say, I guess, okay. He's usually really good, Lima.
Somewhat ironic.
Screwed up here. Yeah, no, he says, it's somewhat ironic. While his name is somewhat ironic, considering he would later say on Umbara, I'm not just another number. None of us are. He was one of those clones who truly made it a point to remind everyone about their humanity. It wasn't all lip service too. His actions truly embodied his genuine care and commitment, not just towards his duty to the Republic, but more importantly towards his brothers. Ultimately, that commitment cost him his life. To state the obvious, he was an excellent warfighter. He was cunning, creative, and undoubtedly brave. Putting together all that, and you have the Star Wars embodiment of an adage in the United States Marine Corps: no better friend, no worse enemy. Truly the Republic's finest. Well thought out response as always from Lima.
I mean, Lima should have wrote Fives as obituary.
Obituary, right? Yeah, I know, right? That would have been good. But no, I mean, he is right. I mean, Fives is one of those characters, and that's why his death has so much impact.
Well, he was huge to the ultimate, I guess, redemption of the clones through Rex to break the conditioning. Because without Fives and his discovery of the chip, Rex would have never even had that thought to recall what Fives was telling him, to give him that millisecond to fight back, that pull to get his blasters out and start shooting Ahsoka. But Fives also, I mean, again, like he started, he was arrogant, but they couldn't really do shit. He really was kind of a troubled clone that became one of its most iconic, and as Lima said, definitely led by example, always put his brothers first, which ultimately cost him his life at the hands of what's his name's buddy, Fox.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, at the hands of Fox. Jurassic Star Park Wars.
There you go.
That's his
Jedi
favorite.
Baggins 1138. That's all I get to hear when I hear that handle. So there you go. Good one, Lima.
Yeah.
Yes, we do know you have a little bit of a hard on for Fives. Just got to check out Lima's. That's like his muse, if you will, in the toy photography space. Definitely lots of Fives starring action shots from Lima for photos.
There we
All
go.
right.
That brings us into our top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of this week. And this week is a fan shot breakdown as well. So we have 2 shots from to break down, one from Rodney Den 36 and one from Lima 4 himself. So he makes a double appearance on the show this week. But to kick off the top 5 this week, we have at Jedi.
Oh my God, dude, this
Journal.
shot, like I think this is the Hot Toys life-size Grogu, which I do have on pre-order, but clearly I don't have yet. And it looks like he's holding one of the Master Effects or one of the higher end
Luke Skywalker
ROTJ swords.
Yeah, so the shot itself is really
I just love it,
incredible.
dude.
Because it's you can tell, well, I don't know if you can tell, but like basically the way that the shot looks like it was set up is that Jedi Journal has all the lights off in his room or wherever he's shooting this, and it's just Grogu with the ignited green saber, Luke's green saber ignited, and it's just, you get the green glow and then the face on Grogu.
Yeah, his mouth is wide open. It's like, like it's the first time he saw a lightsaber, or it's been 50 years since he saw a lightsaber, and just the pure joy and shock of seeing the clarity, the vibrancy of the blade. The little guy is just mesmerized.
Yeah, and you can even see that he's wearing the Mythosaur pendant as well, like the necklace. But yeah, like that facial expression just perfectly captures this image.
I love it. It's like it's like he found something that's just so shocking to him, he can't help but just leave his mouth agape. It'd be like if you're a little kid got into mommy's sex toy drawer and pulled out the dildo and was like, what the hell? I mean, he's just looking at this like, it's so, but it's just, it's such a simple shot, but it's so damn perfect. I mean, you would think the atmosphere being overly green would kind of compete with Grogu's own greenness, but it highlights it. It's just so excellent. And I would have to guess that Jedi Journal is holding the lightsaber at the top.
Yeah,
and letting it kind of rest in Grogu's hand. But I don't know, man. It's just, it's a great pose, but the expression is what, as Nick said, sells it. And just having that lightsaber light enhance this little dude's face, and that's just like, look what I got. Like, woo! I want to go fucking cut something up.
It's like the face you make. I mean, like kids nowadays, I mean, I'm sure they have this same thing, but like when we were kids and like you opened up that Christmas present,
I was gonna say it's the big wow, Santa actually did bring this for me face. Like, holy shit, I got it. And here I just imagine little Grogu, maybe Luke gave it to him to let him check it out, get some practice in, or he is Grogu. Maybe he was in the kitchen and just saw the blade on the table after he had one of his macaroons. He decided to, like, he looked over his shoulder, he looked over his other shoulder, and he's like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. I know Master Luke says I shouldn't play with this, and he goes, and lights it up, and just like,
oh shit. Dude,
if you look at that, that's fucking hilarious.
The hilt is almost as tall as he is.
Of course, yeah. Hell yeah.
It's so fucking great.
That Grogu did grow, though, and there's visual evidence. Apparently, if you look at Grogu compared to Mando's boots in season 1 to 2, Grogu did add like a head or two to height, so he was growing in between seasons. I know you didn't see it on camera, but he grew, people. Just deal with it. Yeah.
Sorry that there wasn't a notch on the Razor Crest side that shows his height chart. Okay,
that's still one of my favorite.
People can still grow without them saying that they
One of my favorite fan freakouts from Mando S2 was Boba's armor being painted. It's just like,
it's so
how did he do it? Like, how did he get painted from one planet to the next? How? It's like, what do you mean? They just fucking painted it, dude. It's Star Wars paint. It's real ass paint. They just went painted.
Yeah, and it's literally like it's painted the same fucking color as the Slave One. So he probably just had some extra fucking Slave One paint.
Did he have to send it to a hive somewhere and get the armorer to do it? No, he just fucking he hung it up in the Slave One's trunk and spray painted the shit.
Yeah, God, people are so nuts. At Jedi_journal on Instagram, though, fantastic shot here of little baby Grogu with the big lightsaber. All right, next up we have a fantastic Neo Boba shot from Nick's Toy Picks. And this one here is, I don't know if this may be like pretty close to a scene recreation of something that we did see in the Tython episode on Mando, but you can see that Neo Boba is kind of kneeling down almost in like a ditch, and he's got 2 dead stormtrooper bodies right next to him, pistol drawn out, kind of dirt.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's got Nick's Toy Picks, by the way, becoming one of my personal favorites. Basically, every shot he puts out it's a good looking shot. Nice. But in this shot, he's channeling a little bit of the everything Kylo particle blast, right?
Exactly. Yes.
No, but at Nick's Toy Picks, like I said, I mean, he does. There's a lot of portrait stuff. There's a lot of just, staged action scenes, but all of his shots to me are visually pleasing. This guy just is very good at staging a shot and then executing said shot. I mean, I'm on his page now, just this solo of Ahsoka sitting there is a good looking shot, even though it's just a simple portrait.
Dude. You want to know something funny?
What's that?
This is hilarious. He's got a Darth Jar Jar shot, and it has 666 likes.
Oh no, yeah, that's a to be featured, by the way, on at Star Wars Time Show. So again, if you're listening to this segment and you'd like to try to get into the top 5, make sure you're following at Star Wars Time Show on Instagram. And anytime you share a Star Wars related piece of art, be it toy photography, tattoos, cosplay, real ass paint, you name it, tag us at Star Wars Time Show and use hashtag Star Wars Time Show.
And look at this is what I like to see. I'm looking at Nick's Toy Picks right here, and specifically on this Darth Jar Jar shot. This is how his tags go in his description. At Star Wars
Fucking
Time
A,
Show.
that's right.
That's how it goes.
Damn straight.
People. That's how you're supposed to do it.
Now I know why I like this guy.
Yeah. We're number 2 billing. I don't know if that continues on right
Thank
now.
you.
It does. And his most recent one too. We're number 2, right behind Star Wars.
All right.
But this shot is, like you said, man, this does have echoes of everything Kylo in it. And anytime we say that about a shot, it's a good thing. Because Jesse is obviously one of the original GOATs.
I just featured a great one from him today. I don't know if you saw it, but he got Jar Jar hanging on to the cannon part of an E-web as the Mando's trying to fire it. I thought it was Jesse typically doesn't go for humor shots, so it was something different from him, but it was also just expertly executed. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. It is perfect.
Oh, Misa on the Gunsa.
You could see like somehow Jar Jar would end up on the fucking front of a gun.
Of course.
But yeah, this Neo Boba shot from Nick's Toy Picks is absolutely fantastic. So make sure to go give him a follow at NIKS Nick's Toy Picks on Instagram. Beautiful job. Next up here is from at Uncanny Figures. This was almost like, this shot here is super clean. I love it. So what we're seeing is Mando. This is definitely from season 1 Mando. So
last episode.
So he's stepping out of, I guess it would be
it's the moment where they're all pinned down by Gideon, but thanks to IG, they get a break to come out, and we saw it in the trailer. I mean, he comes out and just like face blast a trooper, and Uncanny has it perfectly recreated.
Yeah, so Mando's coming out. He's got his gun is just, he's not even looking at the stormtrooper. He's looking straight ahead. Gun is just at his chest, blasts
stormtrooper
right
meet blaster bolt. I mean, it's like right in his fucking dome. It just, again, these are toys that look like movie stills. I mean, Uncanny has said himself that he kind of gets in. He feels like he doesn't get as much of a following because people just feel like he's sharing professional toy product glamour shots. He composites so fucking good. And by that, I mean, takes a shot of the figure and then perfectly, like it's not a little bit of this, it's perfectly matches the lighting, the tone, everything of the background to the character.
Yeah. And when you have shots like that, and we featured shots like that before, where it's like, it's hard to distinguish whether this is actually just a screen grab or if it's a toy pick. And in this case, like even the muzzle blast that you get from the gun is so well executed that you're like, holy shit. Like, if you didn't know this was a toy picture, you could be like, oh, damn, that's like a pretty dope ass shot.
He just, like, the way he lights his figures and then composites them into a scene, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm on his page now. He had a big Marvel run there for when a lot of the Endgame pictures came out, recreated. He's recreated all the new Justice League posters that Zach's been putting out. So Uncanny, can take uncanny looking shots. And B has got some fucking cash flow because this guy, it looks like he's got hot toys of every fucking modern pop culture figure in both the comic book and Star Wars space you could want.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking nuts. But no, I mean, like his shots are just
ridiculous.
So
I mean, just
clean,
ridiculously
so good. Yeah, like it's just Uncanny is a great name.
It's just like
account,
I mean, he is a master compositor, but it's different to me than what someone like a Mint Complete does.
Yeah,
I mean, Uncanny does full on, top to bottom recreations of movie, TV scenes, and posters using toys. And as Props is confirming with us in the live stream chat, that's when you know that a compositor is a master, when you look at their work and go, that's real. Like that's a fucking screenshot from the trailer or the episode. It's not just your toys shot well and edited well. So big fan of @Uncanny Figures on Instagram, and I think other people that appreciate this art form will be too.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, so next up we have @collectors.orbit, and this is a fantastic mashup shot. Like the Predator and Star Wars matchups, I think we may have featured one.
I think just last week we were talking about. It's just, I mean, the franchises Alien, Predator, and Star Wars, for some reason,
they just meld
line up and feel like they could be a part of the same galaxy. Maybe a little bit of time traveling here or there, but this Collector's Orbit photographer excels at crossing over Predator and Alien into Star Wars. And this shot that Nick picked is a Predator dual wielding green lightsabers. And it's fucking looks great.
And if you look behind him too, he's cut down Kit Fisto. Oh, yeah. Kit Fisto's dead bodies laying in the background. And he also just killed the Stormtrooper too. And the pose is incredible. So you see him just like walking with this menacing pose, like he's in mid-stride.
Very boss style
out
pose.
To the side. Yeah, and it's just like with a Predator, these weapons feel so organic on him. It doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like weird like it would if you saw Captain America holding a lightsaber or something like that. Like the Predator holding these two sabers feels like these are weapons that he would have. Like,
I agree. And knowing what the Predators were, let's say these franchises were mashed up. Fuck yeah, they would be trying to hunt Force users. Fuck yeah. All they wanted were challenges.
I must say they're glory hunters. Like, could you imagine how much glory and how much pride they would get out of killing
I mean, these
Jedi?
people, if you believe AVP and all that stuff, they came to Earth just to set up hunting challenges with aliens to keep aliens self-contained in a temple. But every couple hundred years, when they wanted to test their warriors, they would make a few aliens come to life and then challenge themselves to hunt them down in this temple. You're right, dude. And hell, even Star Wars creators themselves know this truth. I think it was the Star Wars proper run, maybe issue 9 or 10. There are very clear Easter eggs to a Predator face mask / helmet and a Xenomorph's skull. So let's go. It's canon at this point. There we go.
So beautiful work here from @collectors.orbit on Instagram. Go give
it's just great lighting, great atmosphere, good pose. Well done.
Everything about it. Beautiful. And the last
look at it. Here we go.
Is our good friend Devin, aka @super_scoundrel, in the live stream chat and on the Instagram. Actually, in live stream chat, he's just his name. He's just Devin. But this shot here of an Imperial TIE pilot, or not shot, this piece of art here, this piece of vector
this
art
real
here,
ass paint, right?
I mean, it's so clean, and it pops so well because of the colors and the way that Devin uses the colors. Like, and I don't know, like, are there actual TIE pilots that are colored this way?
I believe, I don't know. I mean,
gold and
he's in the chat, but I think we get some of this in Squadrons.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. Like, because if people play Squadrons, you know better than me. And Devin, you can let us know in the chat if like this is something you saw in the game, or if you were just inspired. Like, I just think black and gold looks fucking sweet, so I'm gonna make a TIE pilot that has. So if you're not looking at the image and you're on the audio only, so basically what would be his wrist guards are gold. His shoulder pauldrons are gold, and then also his mask has these like almost two gold racing stripes.
Well, it's like I'd say the helmet is similar to the First Order advanced pilot where they had the red stripes going down the helmet.
Exactly.
But this one's getting yellow because this looks like a First Order TIE versus a traditional. I could be wrong.
Yeah, because
Devin,
you're right. Because the shoulder, the emblem on the shoulder is First Order, I believe.
Yeah, but no, dude. Hey, anything black and gold, I'm gonna like. I'm Pittsburgh, born and bred. Haven't lived there in a long time, but you're never gonna beat that little rusty city out of me. Dude, I mean, there's no better combo of colors, especially for sports teams, than the black and gold.
If you think about it too, we both kind of fall into that because the Saints are black and gold too. So
there you go.
We both get that.
Yours
actually, out of the shot.
You actually are black and gold. I mean,
we're black and
we
yellow.
are more black and yellow, like what's his name said in his song. So I get black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
Yeah. Like
Wiz Khalifa. There you go.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, this shot. I mean, I keep saying shot. This piece of art, this real ass paint from Devin is just, I mean, Devin's always a killer, and it's just like, it's hard to not put him up there every fucking time. Right. Like, it's just,
I mean, we have to put him in timeout. Like I have I have shots of his that they probably date back to January now that I've just been sitting on, because there are very few accounts where everything they post is featureable and top 5-able.
Yeah.
So I try to spread them out. So
like this Revan piece that he did recently, he put out today, 2 hours ago. He put out today. He put it out within this time span of our show.
Oh my God, look at this.
Like, this motherfucker is insane. Like, this Revan is so nuts that like it blows my mind. Like,
yeah,
Jesus.
look at this guy. Look at him sneaking this shit in while he's listening to the show. Look at him. He's always working. He's always got that real ass paint ready to rock.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, there's. I mean, that's again tomorrow when I go and do my routine in the morning. I'll be screen capturing this Revan. He'll go in the feature folder, but I'll probably wait a few days because we just sat here and licked his balls on the top 5. You know, so.
Yeah, you have to give him a break.
You gotta spread him out.
It's too much. Good
we don't
shit.
want his head to get too big. I mean, I am a little upset that he decided to do some Marvel a few weeks back. I mean, I don't know if you saw the poll he put out on his profile, Nick, but he said, should I keep doing Star Wars or get into Marvel? And I believe I was the only one that said, fuck no, stick with Star Wars. Because even the Marvel shit's fucking fantastic.
I would say the stuff that he did with Marvel, man, is so killer. Like those portraits of Scarlet Witch and of Loki, and Vision, like they're all so good. And he did so like the one that he did with Vision, like the video that he did with Vision is so crazy because it shows you, like, it kind of does that fade away.
You know what that is, though? That's a team up with @SWProps. So what?
Oh man, these
guys. That's what I mean.
These motherfuckers.
Devin lays down the real ass paint. And then SWProps, I think it's Justin, he then lays down the real ass moving shit.
Graphics.
There you go. Yeah, real ass.
That's some
real ass
shit.
Animations.
That's so good. That's so good. So like, I'm glad that Devin is doing a little bit, because I love Marvel as well. But like, when you put out Star Wars shots like the shit that you just put out, I mean, like even the Boba or like the Mando reskins that he just did is just so.
Yeah, I've got that
nasty.
one with another @SWProps motion overhaul.
God. It hurts to look at because it's so good. And it's like, now I wish that this was real. Like, I wish that we had a Mando with like this red armor and this black and yellow armor.
I feel like Nick's going to have to go wheel one out after the show here. Devin's got him all charged up. Taylor, watch out. Watch out if Nick comes running out with a tent pitched. You better watch out.
It's just so good.
No, he is.
And
he is great.
You know, it's just, and every time we feature Devin, I like to give updates on like his follower count, because it's just, we've seen his account
Jesus
go from,
Christ.
Like,
he's up to 33,000 now.
Yeah, he's at 33,000 followers now. I feel like the last time we looked at his account, he was at like 15 or 18 or 19, and he's already at 33.
Yeah, I shit you not. I'm pretty sure I stumbled upon Super Scoundrel around this time, or maybe a little earlier last year, and I think he was at like 6,000 followers.
It's just,
look at the juice Star Wars Time Show gives you. And I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I mean, clearly it's all Devin, but I do feel like once we found him, it exposed him to more people, and the dominoes started to fall, and it was a click, save, follow, boom, boom, boom. Now he's at 33K, and I still want my fucking coffee table book of the Super Scoundrels portfolio.
You know, maybe he can put that up on his shop soon, because he does. If you like Super Scoundrels work, he's got a shop. It's on his Instagram. Make sure to go to the Instagram. It's in his description. You can buy t-shirts.
I want a discount code. God damn it.
You can buy long sleeve. Yeah. What's the friends and family discount code? But this shit that, I mean, like these shirts that Devin makes, they're actually like really
he's a pimp.
Cool
he's a pimp.
I still want the Mando Vice one. If I'm getting one, it's the Mando Vice. The Mando Vice is too good.
When he did all the like the 80s synth inspired art.
Even I see this one now, the Heiress one, the Bo-Katan one, where he's got like the wavy sun, and he's got the, you know, that 80s kind of coloration style to the Bo-Katan. That shit is nasty too.
I'm telling you, man, you could take his entire fucking Instagram page, print it out on that foil paper I'm talking about that I've seen other vector artists use, slap that shit in the book, and really make some Star Wars fans drool. I mean, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I know it's easy to get done. Get it done. Get the publisher. get manufacturing up and running. Between you and SWProps, you probably know enough people. Let's go. Let's do it.
There we go. So, at super_scoundrel. If you're not already following, give him a follow, because it's just a joy to see this shit pop up in your feed.
Yeah, someone pay him. Someone pay this man for his art.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, you don't need to make your own coffee table book. You need to have fucking Lucasfilm hire you, and then they can make your coffee table book for you. Go. Oh man. So beautiful shit. So at super_scoundrel, he closes out our top 5 for this week, and this week is our fan shot breakdowns, like we mentioned earlier. So we got 2 shots here. One, first up, is from at Rodney Dent 36. And it's a fun little mashup shot we got here.
Oh, so you're I thought you were working top down. You're just
I started
you're
to do
mixing
that, but
it
then
up.
I think like I was doing that, and like for some reason I don't know if like maybe the person deleted their account or they changed their name, but like one of them like redirected.
Yeah, no big deal.
Away.
I just know Rodney recently reached out with this shot and said, "Hey guys, I would appreciate if you threw this up on the fan shot breakdown," and we obliged.
And I figured that if we worked from the bottom, it would be more relevant.
There you go.
Because if people do send in shots recent, in more recent fashion.
And there's a good chance, based on the amount of time that has passed from our initial call till now, a lot of those people probably hate us. So
yeah, exactly. So it's
very I can name a very prominent name that has nothing to do with us anymore. Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
That sounds
a multiple top 5 featuree. Someone we thought could roll with the punches, but no. Gone.
Well, there we go. So that'll happen from time to time.
You know what? You gotta
I figured that he might be gone because we hadn't seen him in a while. But
that's no just tagging. No tagging. I've had some of his old shots I've featured. Doesn't even acknowledge it anymore. So we've been canceled.
There we go. Just like Gina Carano. All right. So Matt, so in this shot, what we see, I'll give a quick descriptor, and I'll let Matt do the breakdown and critique. So what we see is a mashup between Jurassic World and Star Wars, and we see the Indominus Rex kind of in the background running towards all of our Star Wars favorites. So we see C-3PO, we see Jar Jar Binks, R2-D2, Padme, and then some Phase 1 clones just kind of running to get away. One of the Phase 1 clones is turning around, trying to take a shot at this thing. But we all know that you just cannot simply kill the Indominus Rex. And that's the setup for the shot. So Matt, what do you see? Where do you
I think we just did a Rodney shot a few segments back, or whenever you break this out of the closet. And I feel like there is improvement in this one, in particular with the posing. I think the posing is pretty spot on. You do get a feeling that everyone's running here. Padme, Jar Jar in particular, 3PO's trying to do his shuffle as fast as he can, and of course R2 is getting the fuck out of Dodge. This is one being outdoors. It probably could have been spruced up with some atmosphere. I think that's one of the biggest things lacking here. There's nothing to really add any atmosphere to the shot. It doesn't look like any extra light was used, which is great. I mean, that's why I love shooting outside. A lot of times, nature's light is the best light. But I feel like the one ingredient this shot is missing to make it just kind of pop a bit more would either be some particle effects or just some smoke, atmosphere, aerosol, smoke bomb, hand steamer, which I've been getting back to for indoor shots, and it works quite well, and it's not going to kill me anymore. I don't have to sit there and huff chemicals for 3 hours straight and then feel my kidneys and liver trying to process them. But I do. I really think in this shot from Rodney Dent, it's a lack of atmosphere that would have helped tie it together better, in my opinion.
That's kind of where I was going to go, and I was like struggling for a way to describe why I think it needed it. I was going to say it almost looks too sterile, right? But that wasn't exactly what I was trying to get across.
Even if it was like little pieces of dirt and debris getting kicked up like by their feet to make
sell the motion,
exactly, to make the motion feel a little more clear. If you didn't want to do that, Rodney could have done some sort of motion blur effect keep Padme and R2 and the clone in focus, but then to kind of have that motion blur in the background to make it look like the dinosaur is really gaining ground. The dinosaur in the shot, I mean, this is a personal opinion, personal preference. I'm not a huge fan of Star Wars and dinosaurs for some reason. It just like, I can process a Star Wars and Marvel mashup better than a Star Wars and dinosaurs. And that's not just Rodney's shot. I've seen it in a lot of shots. I think one of the only Star Wars dinosaur shots I've kind of liked was one from Hideous. He did like a silly one where Din was riding on the back of like a raptor or a T-Rex, and it actually kind of looked cool. But I don't know. And this is ridiculous because Star Wars isn't real. None of it's real. But it seems like Star Wars and dinosaurs doesn't mix for me.
Okay, yeah, a personal.
So that's a personal preference thing. Like the subject matter isn't my favorite.
Yeah, but in terms of the shot, I do agree that some sort of like particle effect / atmosphere would definitely make this feel a little bit
that's
more
it. I think
real.
that's the only thing missing. I don't think any lighting needs tweaked. Like I said, I mean the setup of the shot is well done. The posing's well done. I'm getting what's happening in the scene. It just adding a little bit of VFX if you need to, or using practical smoke for the shot, to me would have sold the scene that much more than what we get now.
Yeah, definitely. So overall, pretty good setup, like you said. And I like the imagination thrown into the shot too. So there you go, Rodney. Hopefully you're listening, and if you are listening, it's
a definite improvement over the last one. And I remember the last one was one everyone looked kind of purple because of the blue light.
Yeah. It was the blue light with like the hollow table.
Right. So again, it's personal thing with me. I'm not a fan of dinosaurs and Star Wars. But overall, it was a well set up shot, well executed. Just it could have used some of those little tweaks in post to sell the action side of it a bit more. Yeah.
Awesome. So there you go, Rodney. Hopefully that is a helpful piece of feedback for you. Next up is Lima for photos. Lima is a very good photographer.
Yeah.
We featured him in the top 5 multiple times before. So what we have here is a shot of an Imperial Scout trooper. It almost looks like that this trooper was deployed probably on Endor, because it looks, he's got kind of like a green camo type of suit going on, and even like
he's a little stylized. I mean, he's just chilling here.
And he's just kind of sitting, leaning against a couple boxes. You see a sniper rifle next to him. And it's a very this is on maybe not on leave, but on, this is not his rotation. He's not on duty.
He's taking
right
a
now.
break. He's definitely chilling out, probably eyes closed behind the helmet so he can catch a few winks. So Matt, if you scroll over too, you can see that he kind of breaks down. Lima always does he always does his
shot.
Fucking lines. I mean, I don't know if he's trying to show like the rule of thirds or the angles he went with, but he's always got those in there. And he always does BTS, which is very nice. It's a nice simple setup. I guess for me, I mean, just knowing Lima's catalog, it's boring compared to what he usually puts out. Like this is a Haywood Pop type of shot. Okay. It's portrait-esque, very basic, not much done to it. You just line up the character and shoot. It's a nice build. Like, I mean, it does set up a scene. The Dio is staged nicely. He's got the figure placed in an eye-catching manner, meaning it's close to the rule of thirds for that side of the screen. It just seems very ho-hum. I'm a fan of atmosphere in any type of shot. Even a little sprit of smoke would have helped to sell this shot and the atmosphere of the shot a bit more. But really, I mean, the weathering on the figure's great. The weathering on the 3D props is great. The Dio is well done and staged correctly. It's just, it's a boring shot. It's a portrait. It's a Haywood pop is what I would call it.
It's a Haywood.
Yeah.
Be cooler, Lima. Gosh.
Yeah, be more creative. Use your imagination. Don't be me. Don't become me.
Yeah. The only thing that I can think of, because like you said, this is a very well executed shot in terms of like, and this is coming from
you know what? Look, I think he's holding a gun now at this point. So that could be a further critique. Like if this was supposed to be him
in his off time.
Well, I mean, I'm now thinking that Lima initially intended this to be him sitting behind cover in a shootout, right? Or is he just holding his gun?
No, his caption says a trooper stays at the ready even during a lull.
Okay, so he's got his pistol ready, but you don't have an active firefight going right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess that does kind of support my critique that there should have been a little more atmosphere in here. A little battlefield smoke going, maybe a little more dirt and debris on the floor space to make it look like he was just at the tail end of a shootout. Yeah.
And like that's what Lima really excels at. Like if you look at a lot of his shots, he's excellent at getting in small atmospheric effects that add a ton to the shot. Right. Like even if it's just some dust in the back that's like falling behind the character or a little bit of smoke, a little bit of atmosphere aerosol or something like that in the shot that really sells the setup. And to me, like he also uses lighting extremely well, like focused lighting, whether it be lighting that comes through slats in like a in a wall that like reflects onto the character and you just sell that scene a little bit more. This is missing that one key piece of lighting that I feel like Lima is really good at adding into shots and really makes the character itself stand out and sells the environment. So in terms of the practicality of the setup, I think it actually works very well, but it's just it is missing a little bit of those signature Lima atmospheric
That's kind of how I led into this critique. Like I can't say it's a bad shot. I mean, it's a nice setup. It just doesn't feel like Lima. It feels more like Haywood Pop. So who do you want to be, Lima? Do you want to be Lima, or do you want to go the basic route and become a Haywood Pop? It doesn't matter. We're both great. I think I'm decent, but I don't. I hate myself. I don't know. I like Lima's work, so this is one of those ones where you got to reach a bit. But I do think there are some tweaks that could have been made to make it pop a bit more. The atmosphere being one, the lighting being another, which would have popped with the atmosphere. And just maybe a little more set dressing to make it feel more like he is in between firefights and not just sitting down looking to, catch a snooze so he doesn't get in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully that is some usable feedback for you, Lima. And hopefully you kind of see the angle that we're coming at this from. So that's the end of our top 5. That's the end of our fan shot breakdowns this week. And that's the end of our show. A sub 3-hour show.
Hey, that's great, because I'm about ready to piss my pants. I've been holding on. No, dude, when you started doing the battle brackets, I was like, I probably should go because I have to go again. I had to go then. And at this point, it's become so prominent that I can feel the urine in my eyeballs. Like it's like this could be one of the fastest show ends we've ever had. But as Nick said, we've done it. We've said it all. We've made it to the end of another Star Wars time show. And yes, we're not going to hit 3 hours, but who gives a shit? It's not like you guys are paying for this after all. Although we are starting to talk about potentially doing something that I've never wanted to do. But it's probably something that needs to be done if we want to get bigger and badder and actually feel like we're not just taking money and lighting it on fire. And that is potentially looking into some sort of advertising on the podcast itself, and or some sort of what I like to call it, the fan homeless bucket, like the fan beggars bucket, the Patreons and whatnot, because just with the amount of shows we have up in AWS these days and the server and the site, we're lighting money on fire. Okay. I mean, definitely operating in the red, as they like to say. And it's like, all right, we got to at least get to even somehow. And the only way to get to even on a site that doesn't generate a lot of traffic is either doing the old, hey, let's go stand at a street corner with our buckets and our signs and have people feel bad for us and give us tips or donations, or try to get something on the podcast. But even then, we're not going to generate enough money. So if you see the old handout pledge coming, please know it's nothing I ever wanted to do. But at the rate this show doesn't grow or get big or get popular, it's just something we're probably going to have to do to cover our own finances. But that's why we're here. That's why we do that dance, and that's why we shimmy and shake our asses on over to StarWarsTime.net at the end of every show, just to remind fans new and old of our home base, StarWarsTime.net, but also that is the site that you need to tell people to go to when you're trying to trick them into becoming fans of the SWTS, as you should, because there is always time for Star Wars Time. I know it. Nick knows it. I preach it. He sleeps it. We need all of you to keep doing what you're doing. I know you're like, Matt, you say this every fucking week and we just ignore you. Will you please stop saying it? No, I will not. Because one day we will have a legit audience, even if I'm dead. I don't care. At some point in time, Star Wars Time Show is going to have more than 5 people watch it. All right. Let's go from the high 2000s to 5000s by this time next year. That's not a lot. 5,000 still ain't shit. You know, you guys, you like Silas Carson, you like those types of interviews. Well, guess what? It'd be a lot easier if we had something on our fridge to say, hey, look, we stuck it here. We're proud of it. These are our numbers. These are why you need to come on the Star Wars Time Show. Until then, it is what it is. It's 2 guys in their basements doing a Star Wars fan podcast for 30 other guys in their basements in cars. But we love you. That's why we do it. That's why we keep coming back. That's why we can't quit you. Because there's always time for Star Wars Time. StarWarsTime.net. Tell your friends. Tell your grandparents. Tell your pets, for Christ's sake. They may like to listen to the mwah, mwah, mwah too. Because there truly is always time for that galaxy that is so far, far away, but near and dear to our hearts. And remember, if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force, yes, that Force and its midichlorians will be with you always.